You see the final score, we track the revenue stream. Welcome to the show that treats the sports world like the multi-billion-dollar business it is. We dissect the ownership deals, the television right battles, the NIL impact, and the media figures driving the entire narrative. From Wall Street to the locker room, we follow the money and the people who control the message. Welcome to Press Row, the business of sports, right here on the Empty the Bench Network. Now, here's your hosts, Callan McClurg and Nick Morgasen.
All right, we are back for another week of coverage on Press Row. It is another Wednesday. It is no longer 75 and sunny in Southern California, finally, after the last week that we've had. Another focused 3 hours and two more heavy-hitting guests joining us this morning/afternoon. As always, alongside Nick Morgasen in Plainview, New York, Callan McClurg here in San Diego. Joining you on this Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. Nick, another week. Two more heavy hitters are in the lineup today for guests today. How are we doing this afternoon?
It'd be good if I had the right banner and the right stuff on. Now I do. I'm good. This is going to be a great episode. Let's just say I've been striking the guest jackpot as of late to get these shows on the road. But these are two great guests today. We've been exploring the Infinity Sports Network debacle on the other side of things. And by the way, if you're looking to follow the show at Press Row ETB across all social media platforms as we continue to grow and build these platforms. And if you want to follow the network at ETB Network across all social media platforms as well. So make sure you do that. And if you're watching youtube.com/ETB Network, go hit the like and subscribe button over there as we continue to grow ours. And the guest lineup for today, Brad Evans from BetMGM Tonight, which is the network Westwood One Sports, which took over for Infinity Sports Network. And I was talking to Callan over the last couple of weeks, and I said, look, we've been hitting heavy on the Infinity Sports Network debacle side of this. It wouldn't be our show unless we gave the benefit of the doubt to the other side to have their say as well. So Brad Evans is now part of that new network on Westwood One Sports, part of the BetMGM content that made its way over to Westwood One Sports. And he hosts BetMGM Tonight from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern. 5 hours of radio a day. Did you hit the wrong button?
Sorry, that was my dog.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure. So he'll join us. He hosts that show with Pat Boyle on Westwood One Sports. And then a fun guest, a really fun guest, David Samson, who the former GM of the Miami Marlins, and hosts a show called Nothing Personal with David Samson as part of Meadowlark Media and the DraftKings Network. And we've talked about him a few times on this show, whether it was his comments on the Dodgers, which, don't you worry, we're going to talk a lot of Dodgers with him, and payroll and salary caps and all that fun stuff. And we're going to get into his comments about the WNBA. If you remember, he went viral for a comment saying the W could shut down if they never come to a agreement. So we got a heck of a show for you today. And we got a lot of other topics in between. What do we have? We're going to talk conflict of interest at the Olympics. We're going to talk about podcasts getting awards at the Golden Globes, which I never thought was going to be a thing at all.
Yet here we are.
Let's see, what else we're going to talk. Oh, we're going to talk about how the Chicago Sky are trying to launch a all-star bid when we don't even know if there's going to be a WNBA season.
I mean, they already got the bid, and they had an event at the airport, and nobody showed up.
And Dwayne Wade was a part of it. It was a huge debacle, which we'll talk about. We're going to talk some golf today. Bryson DeChambeau with his new, not new deal. He wants a new deal for $500 million. Holy shekels is what I would say there. But we got a lot to get into, and we have two guests, so we got to kind of work diligently with our topics. So, you ready to get going?
Let's get going, baby.
All right. So, let me, as I scrolled all the way down. All right. So, Big Cat blasts the Golden Globes. Now, you're probably thinking, what the hell does that sentence mean? So, Barstool Sports' Dan Big Cat Katz recently torched the Golden Globes for introducing a Best Podcast category, only to award it to a Hollywood-produced project. Well, actually, it's just a podcast. Good Hang, starring Amy Poehler. Katz called the concept stupid and a joke, arguing that Main Street award shows are simply trying to co-opt a medium they didn't build and don't understand. He stated that no real podcaster should win a Golden Globe because the industry's soul lies in authenticity, not red carpets. Does Hollywood's attempt to institutionalize podcasting through award ceremonies validate the medium, or does it prove that traditional media is desperate to attach itself to a format it can't usually replicate? The answer is desperate.
It sounds desperate. I really wonder, Nick, how much, though, like nowadays, how much value is even left in award shows now? Because obviously we know that it becomes more of a platform. And we know, though, that we're always told if you have a platform, use your voice. And we know what usually that platform is used for with these award shows or late night television. We won't go down that rabbit hole. But I do think it is interesting, though, that we would begin to do a best podcast category for the Golden Globes, but yet it goes to someone who's already a Hollywood celebrity. And I love Amy Poehler as much as the next guy does for her role playing Joy and Sadness on Inside Out 1 and 2, for example.
Right.
But I do think, though, Nick, it just sounds like it's a desperate ploy to keep the award shows relevant. Now, that might be weird or off base, though, but I think, though, that Big Cat is right, though, by saying, why would I want to go to the Golden Globes, have to wear a tuxedo when I'm so used to wearing a shirt, jeans, and shoes and sneakers to talk sports on a podcast with Barstool, for example, to go and be amongst Hollywood's finest to win an award that doesn't feel like it's even a right award to win at that show, for example. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, again, I've told you my thoughts on award shows before, where it's a bunch of political nonsense for celebrities just to show up and politically pander. And that's why I will never watch the award shows. My parents love the award shows. And I get it from an entertainment standpoint. They like watching the award shows. But how many times do I have to hear Robert De Niro go up to a microphone and say, F you, Donald Trump? Like,
right.
And this has nothing to do with politics. Let me be very clear about this. I wouldn't want to hear F you to the Democratic side either. I just don't want to hear it at these award shows. It's too much. Go there, accept an award for whatever movie or Grammy for music or Oscar or whatever show you're going to, and stop with the political pandering. It's enough.
It is. That's why I kind of say, though, is the value of the award shows, Grammys, Emmys, Golden Globes, Tony Awards, you know, whoever else I can think of, like, is the value of it now just going further and further down the tubes because it has become such a major political platform for people who are, you know, obviously powerful figures as well in their own right to be using that platform for those reasons in people's minds.
Again, like think about how these are put together. It's a bunch of celebrities that show up in a room who for the most part know each other, because you have to remember Hollywood is a very small, what I like to call 1% community.
Much like the sports community is, as I like to say too.
And just in case people don't know what I mean, the 1% community basically refers to more for financial than it does for political or celebrity. So basically the top 1% is like the top 1% earners in the world is what the 1% community means. And that's what Hollywood is. If you think about it in a sense, Hollywood is a 1% community. How hard is it to make it in that world? It's nearly impossible unless you know somebody.
Right.
So I think Big Cat is right. And why they entered a podcast category. You want to know why they entered the podcast category? Because it's the hottest category in the media space. That's why they entered that category. There's no other reason. Everyone and their mother has a freaking podcast now. Like, and not for the right reasons either. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, it is a problem. And I think that Big Cat, though, Nick is right. Like, it just kind of feels like, in a way, it's a bit of a sham that we even have a award for best podcast category, where some of the, like, best podcasts, like I'm sure, anything from Barstool, how are they not named in it or any of that sort of thing?
By the way, pardon my take, which Big Cat and PFT do. It's the #1 sports podcast of all time. They started very early in the space before podcasting was really a thing. It was them. It was Bill Simmons. They were really the first 2 sports podcasts. How does Good Hang with Amy Poehler win the best podcast? She's only doing a podcast because she's a name, and she knows if she enters the space, she's going to get a following. Everyone is the way this space has changed, and you and I have had this discussion off air before about no one wants to do TV or radio for a network anymore because they don't want to be controlled. Right. They want to do their own content. Look what we're doing here. We're controlling our own destinies and our ability to run a network because no one can tell us what to do as part of this network that we run. So Amy Poehler, and then what was the other podcast I told you about that's going to Netflix? Oh, Pete Davidson.
Yes.
Which, to be honest, it's not on other podcast platforms. It's a podcast that's being formed into a Netflix show. Same thing as Michael Irvin. The White House with Michael Irvin. Which,
such an original name.
And by the way, he did come out and say, like, I knew what I was doing when I picked that title. So he knew what he was doing.
Oh,
he knew.
Okay.
But first of all, his name will garner enough listens, regardless if it had White House in it or not.
True.
But Big Cat is totally right. This category should be removed from the award show. It has nothing to do with film or TV or any of that stuff. And it's going to be, what's that term I use all the time? Oh, gatekeeped.
Yes.
Gatekeeping. You really think they were going to choose a Barstool podcast to be the best podcast?
Hell no.
Because there's always politically incorrectness at Barstool. God forbid we're not in the Hollywood community where everything is done a certain way with rich, snobby celebrities. And I hate to say this because it's true, but you do know which way Hollywood leans, right?
Usually, yes.
They're as far left as it comes. I don't know why. I don't know where that came from, but we all know politicking and political correctness is involved in that category, or in any award show that you watch, for that matter. Think about the shows that win every year.
Yeah.
They win for a reason. Even though they say you have the academies that do all the voting, you don't think they get together and say, hey, we should make this show the best TV show, the best movie, or best song, or best Broadway show. You don't think they get together and politically correctly figure that out?
Yeah, exactly.
So he's right. It's stupid. Unless they're going to have a criteria, a real criteria. And I'm not even saying for this category, for all award shows. Unless you have a real criteria to meet to win an award, which there's really no way, because awards are, what's the word I'm thinking of? Discretionary, yes. Where there's no right or wrong in technicality, even though the critics will come out and say, well, this show is trash and it shouldn't have won the award. Well, can I say Good Hang with Amy Poehler is trash because it's not a real podcast?
Maybe.
I mean, there's so many celebrity podcasts out there now. Do you remember when celebrities used to say, I'm not doing a podcast, I'm not putting my life out there? What's happened in the last couple of years?
They all have pivoted.
They all pivoted. They've all gone to podcasting. They've all done this and that and the next thing. So this is totally right. I agree.
All right, Nick, we're going to move back to some more Olympic controversy as we get ever so closer to the 2026 Winter Games in Milan Cortina. But NBC has made the decision to remove ice dancing analyst Gabriela Papadakis from its Winter Olympic coverage in Milan, following the release of her memoir, which contains serious allegations against her former dance partner, Guillaume Cicerone, who remains a competitor for the French national team. NBC called this a clear conflict of interest and a responsibility to deliver coverage free of bias, marking a rare time of a network preemptively silencing a star analyst for personal entanglements. Nick, by removing Gabriella Papadakis for perceived bias, is NBC actually setting a journalistic standard that exposes the hypocrisy of other networks who allow active part owners and business partners to call games or events together in your mind?
So here's the problem with this, okay? She wrote a book or a memoir. I think it was a memoir, right? So you can't write things that make you seem off-center. And I don't mean in the sense of being weird or whatever. Your opinion is your opinion, but if you're going to be on the broadcast to give commentary for a sport, you can't say, oh, I don't like this person, I don't like this person, I want this partner, I want that partner. You can't say that. It looks bad on the broadcast if they're going to say, well, I hate you and I hate you, and it just looks bad for the networks, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely it does.
So I understand why they removed her, but at the same time, are we too politically correct when it comes to broadcasts? And we have an issue there.
Yeah, I wonder the same thing, Nick, especially because the Olympics are such a polarizing event. Because as we have talked about on Tuesday night, going down the benchmark schedule, we have plenty of topics coming up, though, involving the massacre in Munich, for example, the Black Power salute in '68, for example. You know, that we have these massive stories that broke, though, Nick, on a Olympic stage. And now here's this one, though, where, again, this is kind of out of the box, a bit out of left field, though. But I guess, though, Nick, I understand the network's perspective because, in a way, Nick, this might be a little bit of a weird comparison. Remember when we had Christine Brennan on the show? Not because of the fact you had to do this the whole time because of playback being a butt when it came to getting people on stage.
Yeah.
But we also, in a way, had to publicize, get her book, please buy her book. Why would I kind of think, though, in a way that Papadakis, in a way, though I doubt it, but who knows, though, what if she's calling one of his events in Milan and then she makes like a selfish plug? Well, hey, you can check out this paragraph in my book about how you train.
That's why they removed her. That's exactly
bingo. There you go. There's your answer. That's
exactly why they removed her, because they don't want bias on the broadcast, which is actually the right move, believe it or not, to remove bias on the broadcast. Not that I really want to shit on the parade because we've been dealing with it, but we're dealing with a situation right now on our football show where we're having a bias issue with some people when it comes to being analytical, talking about football and putting your fan bias aside. And it doesn't look good when you're being biased about a topic and you can't talk about football or any topic in a certain way. I get it. When you look at like ESPN, for instance, you have Michael Wilbon, who's a Chicago sports fan. And do you remember like when he was sitting in the stands for the Cubs for the playoffs? And people gave him shit for sitting in the stands, saying, "Oh, you're an ESPN, you're a broadcaster." Like, but at the same time, it doesn't look good as being a professional broadcaster for as long as he has. You could be a fan. In my opinion, ESPN shouldn't have put him on the air while he was sitting in a Cubs uniform or a Cubs jersey.
I mean, there is a worse person that could put on, and we saw that on firsthand on Monday on ESPN.
Oh, who are you referring to?
Abella Danger.
Oh, well, that's a different issue. That's crossing proverbial lines a little bit, but this makes total sense by NBC in the sense of, look, you can't write a dirt book about somebody and then be on the NBC broadcast. It does not look good because you can't control what she's going to say on the broadcast. Well, technically you can because it's your network, but how do you know she's not going to say, "Oh, go check out my book and see all the dirt I wrote up on this person"?
Yeah.
You can't do it. And the Olympics, first of all, there's a lot of money NBC puts into the Olympics, by the way. I don't know if you knew this, but NBC does not make a profit on the Olympics ever. We learned that.
Either.
We learned that in my master's class at Hofstra University here in Long Island, where they essentially NBC takes on the Olympics for ratings and for numbers, not money. Which I didn't realize that at first, but they do it more because they want the fanfare and they know people are going to tune into NBC properties to watch the Olympics.
Exactly.
Nothing to do with profit, because it's almost impossible to make a profit off the Olympics for the amount of money it takes.
Yeah, you would think, especially with how much manpower goes into doing it. And we also have heard already that there's going to be several announcers remotely calling events from Stamford, Connecticut, due to the fact of travel considerations of the event is not, that mainstream, for example. But that is where things currently stand at this rate. Hello, Christy Wilson. Thanks for joining us here, as always, here on Press Row. All right, Nick, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the remote broadcasting is stupid. If you're going to do the broadcast, do them from the location. Enough with this.
All right, let's see if we can get these last two talks in before we get to Brad Evans here at 11:30 Pacific time. Nick, while many fans are complaining about the Los Angeles Dodgers' spending, that it might be killing baseball, Fox Sports analyst and host Colin Cowherd argued this week that LA is actually saving baseball, pointing out to record-breaking ratings for the 2025 World Series, and argued that a supervillain is what baseball needs to stay relevant in the national conversation. Cowherd further mentioned as long as New York, Chicago, and the Dodgers are relevant, Major League Baseball remains a front-burner sport regardless of parity. But Nick, if the supermodel team consistently produces higher ratings and more revenue, should baseball stop worrying about competitive balance and lean entirely into a big market versus everyone marketing ploy to bring fans into the sport? Not when we have reports, Nick, that the owners are going to be voting for a salary cap 100% all the way through next season.
First of all, what? Like, really? Like, I want to be very careful here because I'm a Colin Cowherd fan. That's how I got in the business.
I am too.
And this is no slight at him. It's more the slight at the opinion that he's putting out there or what he's saying. The Dodgers are going to destroy baseball. And I'm going to be curious because when we talk to David Samson, he has a little bit of the same opinion that it's not really the Dodgers, it's more the rules of baseball, because the Dodgers are technically following the rules by paying the fines and paying whatever. They're kind of bending the rules in a lot of ways. Yeah. But I guess he's right on some facet where if the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Red Sox, the Phillies, if they're all good, that's going to bring attention to the sport. But with all the issues we're having right now currently with RSNs, which we've talked about over the past couple of weeks, and the local model's just not working anymore, the Dodgers just spending like drunken sailors, like buying the bar out every night, it's a problem. Now, how do we fix it? I think you need to put in a rule that no deferred money is allowed in Major League Baseball. Oh, well, I totally forgot to do that off the top of the show. Yes, Cody Bellinger signed with the Yankees 5 years, $162.5 million. Opt-outs after years 2 and 3 with deferred money. Gee, what a shocker, right? I mean, but what? I'm surprised he didn't go and sign with the Dodgers again. You know what? Did you see the funny tweet the other day that everyone said, I'm surprised John Harbaugh didn't go sign with the Dodgers?
Yes.
Is that how much of a laughingstock, like the Dodgers?
I saw one, too, that the Dodgers are going to sign Greenland with deferred money until 2031.
Ugh. God. That's terrible, but funny. I agree with some things he says. There's some things I don't. Just having the Yankees, the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Phillies, whatever, that's not going to save this sport. It's just not going to save the sport. That's only what, 5 or 6 teams out of 30?
Yep.
You need a lot more than 5 teams to run a sport, a professional sport. Now, if the Dodgers are just going to spend like drunken sailors and they're going to continue to do this, what's the point of showing up for the Major League Baseball season in 2026? Because you signed Edwin Diaz, You brought in Kyle Tucker. You're coming back with all your guys with Shohei and Mookie Betts and so on and so forth. Freddie Freeman and a partridge in a pear tree. They probably signed Santa Claus too while they're up there. But there's no reason to watch baseball this year. None.
Yeah, it's getting more and more difficult. And as someone who's been a lifelong fan, and yes, well, it's small market, just shut up. Like, it's not even because of that.
This is not a small market issue. This is a Major League Baseball issue.
Now we're literally at the point now where all 30 owners in a way are going to force a salary cap. Even then, Nick, I don't even know what that looks like, honestly, next season.
So I want to look this up one more time. I'll try to do this quickly. I want to look up the MLB luxury number for 26.
I know the Padres are paying one, but it's like $4 million or $8 million.
Okay. You want to take a guess what the number for 26 is? The prime luxury tax threshold is what?
244?
Yeah. 244. You want to know what the Dodgers number is right now?
401?
413. 413. Think about that. I'm trying to do quick math in my head. So that would be, let's see. So another 100 million be 344.
$169 million difference between the threshold and where the Dodgers are at.
That's crazy. That's more than what? 17 franchises we figured out? Or is that Kyle Tucker number?
I think it's 7 or 12 teams.
But the Kyle Tucker number, which I told you, even though Nick, it's 60 million a year, 4 years, 240. What's the problem? No, it's not 4 years, 240 million. It's going to cost the Dodgers $126 million a season
because of the luxury tax.
See, people say, oh, it's not destroying baseball. You're jealous because the Dodgers have been. No, it's destroying baseball.
It's literally going to force the sport to lock out next season.
No one can pay what the Dodgers are paying. Go ask the Sacramento A's. That's weird to say. The Pirates, the Rockies, the Royals,
Marlins, Rays.
Yeah,
Guardians.
go with them if they can afford that number. Can they? No. So I understand, and I get it. I know why he's defending it because, in a sense, he's saying, well, they're bending the rules, which they are. They're not breaking any rules. It's not like they're not paying the fines.
Right.
But they're run by a freaking hedge fund. And what's the problem when something is run by a hedge fund?
They have unlimited money.
Yes, they have the unlimited ATM machine. Cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. Like they could just keep hitting the cash register, and it's never going to deplete. And Rob Manfred, I have a lot on my table, on my desk before I retire in 2029. Yeah, is a lockout on that list?
I think so.
And I'll tell you right now, if Major League Baseball goes into a lockout, it's one, you're going to lose a ton of fans if you go into lockout.
So that brings me to a very good question, because we just dropped the recent benchmarks episode where our good man Tom Albano talked about the 94 strike. Now, again, that was the players going on strike in wake of the owners kind of in a way colluding. We have one about the 80s where the owners colluded against the players as well. So, Nick, will the 2027 baseball lockout, in your opinion, be worse than the 80s collusion scandal and the 94 strike?
So here's the problem comparing the two. The 94 strike was right around free agency, right?
It happened in the middle of the season in August 12th.
No. I'm saying it was right around because free agency rules were not fully together, so to speak, yet at that point. Like, they were very new at that point in time. Now free agency is huge. Like, everyone goes to free agency now when they can. Oh, Scott Boras. Like, which I found it hilarious that I forgot who said it, but somebody said on social media that most of the people on the players union who are on the top, the players who are on the top, on the board, they're all Scott Boras clients.
Not surprising.
That's a problem, though. Think about that. And there were reports saying that they're going to Scott Boras and saying, do you agree with the negotiations? Problem?
Big problem.
All right. Looks like our first guest is entering the room. We'll give a little intro before we get him in. Brad Evans, part of the new movement to Westwood One Sports, which took over for Infinity Sports Network. Also hosts Bet MGM Tonight with Pat Boyle, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Let's bring Brad in. Hi, Brad.
Hola, amigos. How you gentlemen doing?
Howdy.
So, Brad, thanks for coming on with us today.
Yeah, likewise. Appreciate it.
So, I guess the first question, and we want to be fair because we've been talking a lot about ISN and the close of ISN and that network being closed. What was your first reaction when you heard you were part of the lineup and part of the network taking over for ISN?
Honestly, I was a bit shocked. It was a great privilege and an honor that our show was chosen. I couldn't believe that Infinity Sports was no longer to be in business, and they decided to lean on the services of this jackass. There were so many talented people at Infinity, extraordinary voices in the industry. And again, I'm just ecstatic that I'm able to, get on the horn every single day, express my opinions about the world of sports. And I'm hoping the people, sadly and unfortunately, no longer, a part of Infinity and lost their gigs will snap back and storm back with a vengeance soon. So, it was a bit bittersweet to say the least. But to be honest, guys, that's the nature of this business.
Brad, the one thing we really talked about was some of the legacy talent that was left behind from ISN. And this has kind of been like my first question out of the box has been where sports media and content is now shifting in a way here in 2026 to more leaning into, as you guys do on Westwood One Sports, to the gambling and wagering side of the sports world, for example. So with that in mind, though, Brad, perhaps, though, because I'm sure that people have complained that sports radio is now becoming one giant commercial for the gaming industry plus television too. But how do you, though, as a host, keep the show authentic for the fan who wants to talk about their team without being bombarded by the point spreads and over-unders, though? So how do you kind of, in a way, balance the two out, though, on your program, for example, or on the network in general?
Yeah, great question. Look, I've been in business for over 20 years. I worked at Yahoo Sports, is where I really cut my teeth in the industry as really a fantasy football voice. And eventually that rolled into bracketology, which I still do to this day. Of course, I cover fantasy football as well. And then that morphed into gambling, with pass befalling in a late 20 teens. I'm like, hey, we got to dive head first into this. And I was still at Yahoo at the time. I'm somebody that's always, worn multiple hats in this business and taken great pride in that. I kind of speak, even though I'm in my late 40s, I would like to think I kind of speak to various generations and various content consumers in the business because that's how I kind of grew up. In the overall business, whether behind a mic, in front of a camera, with my fingers rattling on the keyboard. I've always, again, worn those multiple hats and thinking in multi-dimensional ways, serving gaming audiences, serving as well the common sports fan, serving audiences across sports genres in general, whether it's college basketball this time of year, along with the NFL, whether it's Major League Baseball in season during the summertime, whether it's college football as well. You got to be well versed, and that's something again that I've hung multiple hats on, and really appreciated the opportunity to grow and develop in those areas, and that's where I think a lot of this is going is in the media business, particularly the radio business. If you want to speak to the Gen Zers that are starting to enter the workforce right now, if you want to speak to millennials, whether the younger millennial part of that generation, the older millennials now into their early 40s, or for me, who's kind of a borderline millennial and a Gen Xer, there's a way to do that. And it's, just kind of touching on a little bit of everything and playing in various sandboxes. So, the premise of BetMGM tonight We mix in a little bit of everything. At our core, we're still like 75% traditional sports talk. We work in and sprinkle a little betting in here and there. We react in real time to the games that are going on with updated live lines and live totals and reacting to that. And how does that play into the general sports mind and sports line of traditional sports talk? We lean into that. We kind of blend it all together. Hell, we even dabble in fantasy football because I love it so much. So we speak various languages, and you got to be ultimately versatile in this business if you want to, again, speak to the masses and achieve the ultimate success. And that's having longevity overall, no matter what genre of the sports media industry that you're in.
So 5 hours on the radio, Monday through Friday. That is grueling radio. Can you talk about kind of the preparation? A lot of people don't get this. Like Callan and I have been in the business. You've been in the business a long time. Talk about prepping a 5-hour show, because that is difficult.
It is. Now, truth be told, we're not on air for all 5 hours. So we always re-rack that last hour with some of the highlights of the previous 4 hours. 4 hours is still a long time. I can say that. I got my 5 hour energies within arm's reach. I got a pot of coffee on the other side of the Casa de Evans studios. I'm keeping the caffeine flowing because I got to keep the energy up. My nickname is the Big Noise. I've had that since high school. I wonder why I'm such a wallflower, guys. But as a result, I expend a lot of energy in my opinions that I formulate, whether it's something that I've preconceived and thought about throughout the entire day or just shooting from the hip. It doesn't really matter. I want to stay brisk. I'm with the show flowing. My co-host, Pat Boyle, an extraordinarily talented young host, does a really good job of keeping pace and tempo as well. We work in some interviews. We try to bring in big names. That helps alleviate some of the burden on our shoulders and really on our tongues for the 4 hours live that we're on the air. But I'm a big believer in segmentation, and I'm a big believer as well in reacting to events in real time. So naturally on game nights, it makes it really easy. Like the national championship game the other night with Indiana. Hoisting the hardware against the Miami Hurricanes, we would do live check-ins on the game. We would check the temperature of what was going on, give her, just off the cuff reactions and feelings. That could be a segment. If you're reacting to games in real time, I think the 4 hours is a breeze. It's on days like today, for example, on a hump day, where you got to get really creative. And we got a phenomenal team that believes in segmentation. We like to kind of gamify the gamification in a way by coming with our own on-air games that we play with our phenomenal producer, Brandon Combs. Andrew Williams has a lot to say behind the scenes as well. So we just kind of brainstorm and come up with wacky ideas, throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. And the other big key is that we're a highly interactive show. So people get a hold of us, whether through more modern means like via social media platforms or just traditional phone calls. And we take people's phone calls live and we react to those phone calls live. So we're kind of a smorgasbord of sports talk. And I think that's the best way to approach it, because when you attack with a plate in hand and you're scooping it up from the buffet, the 4 hours, it's a breeze.
Brad, I live in Southern California, in San Diego to be exact. And if you say the word gambling out here, it's almost like a death sentence. I said this to Bart Winkler last week here on Press Row. But Brad, I think more importantly, because our network at one point, and I've said this for 3 weeks in a row, but we had a deal for a bit with a prediction market named Novig, who they have kind of, they're in a way they were legalized in like 35 states though. Then slowly they began to peel back the layers though. They left California in December. They left New York, where Nick lives, like 3 o'clock in the morning, the first week of the new year, roughly right before the new year ended. And we got a very much, blatant yawn emoji response from them when we said that we couldn't work with them anymore, because they literally left Media Market A, New York, Media Market B, LA/California in general. But also now, Brad, with the rise of Kalshi, and Polymarket, who are now being sued, and we're going to talk about them later in our show. So I guess, though, Brad, how much, though, of your job is to navigate the legal side of the wagering markets as much as the on-field side? But also, are we reaching a point maybe where the media has to be more careful maybe than those who are actually placing bets on sports, in your opinion?
Yeah, you got to toe a very delicate line, to say the least. It's still kind of a bit of the Wild Wild West out there with the prediction markets, and that sector of the business really flourishing, and there's zero regulation, and that's the biggest issue that's going on right now. And that could reach a point eventually. We'll see what happens during the political midterms. If a blue wave were to occur, for example, maybe that's a point of emphasis of something they'll attack in some way to offer regulation in those specific markets. So it's up to the politicians in DC and in really certain states to ultimately decide the fate of what the future of the prediction markets world looks like. For our show, we're sponsored by BetMGM. It's a regulated book. They're not in the predictions market industry. We focus exactly on that. I'm a gambler. I'm live in the great state of Illinois. Sports betting is 100% legal here. And, we definitely have a toe in that water. We're speaking to the 30 plus states where there is legalized and regulated sports gambling that is out there. And no, we're not going to ever dabble in the poly markets, the Kalshis of the world. That's a totally different Pandora's box to open. I'm not willing to go there. I'm going to stick with the regulated markets, and I greatly appreciate our sponsor in BetMGM.
So, for instance, like when you saw the NBA gambling scandal, or you saw the point shaving scandal right now that's going on in college basketball, can you guys talk those situations, or is that going a line? How does that work kind of on your guys' show when those situations kind of came up?
We dove headfirst into it. There's no restrictions at all. I mean, what they were doing is nefarious activities, right? And as a result, like when somebody's laying $450,000 down on NCANT, that might be a red flag. And, we talked about it. We talked about some possible solutions. It's an imperfect system. I think even, BetMGM would probably say that there'll be some changes here and there on a state-by-state basis of what's going to be allowed. Are there going to be limits that are going to be placed on the player props markets in particular? And that's really a specialty of mine. Growing up in a world of fantasy football, I love the player props. And for a lot of people, that's how the gaming audiences were raised, first on fantasy. So it's a natural foray then into the player props market and sports betting, away from the signs and the totals that some people may not really understand or get. But hey, I understand Drake May over under 259.5 pass yards. Oh, that's easy. Oh, yeah, it's way over, man. I'm taking that all day long. You kidding me? He's going to light up the Denver Broncos this week. So I think for a lot of people, they follow that. It's still just something that eventually everybody's have to come to an agreement on what the proper regulation is to prevent instances of the various matters that have been attached with the NBA and some of the other sports that are out there, the collegiate ranks as well, placing limits on player props. I think first and foremost, like $100, for example, is a maximum bet that you could make, not $100,000 on that Drake May proposition. So it doesn't entice, people that may be able to sway that action on the field and behind the scenes. So yeah, we can unpack all of that. We have very frank and direct conversations. No limitations on expressing our opinion when it's tied to that. And again, thank you, BetMGM.
I just want to follow up on one more. Obviously, the Guardians scandal, also with the pitching. Yeah. What do you make of? And this drove Callan and I crazy when we saw that you could bet on a strike or a ball inside
first pitch. Yeah.
What did you make of that? Because I don't understand that. I find that a little confusing because anyone could spike a pitch like supposedly he was doing, and that led to money. So what do you make of betting on pitches in baseball?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very granular market. But again, if you set limits on stuff like that, All systems go. I mean, to say, if you want to bet on a closer, Emmanuel Clase to come in and throw a heater right down the middle of the plate, and you can even bet on over under miles per hour on pitch in some of the regulated markets, which is bananas, but kind of fun. Have I dabbled in it? Maybe. But if the line's like 99.5 miles an hour, and it's going to be a pressure pack situation, maybe it's against a marquee opponent, you're like, oh man, he's got to have some extra giddy up in that fastball today. Yeah, great, go for it. But you can't wager more than, say, $100 or $500 on that pitch. So it prevents the enticement of maybe an umpire being in the mix there for balls and strikes, somebody that is related to the team in some form or fashion. Maybe it's an interpreter on the team that may know the tendency of a specific player and their pitch that they're going to throw the very first time that's out there. So all this can be solved so easily, gentlemen, with limits. And I think we're going in that direction because, again, it's the most plausible and sensible outcome.
Brad, I'm glad, though, that Nick brought up the Guardian scandal because we've talked about the NBA gambling scandal, the point shaving in basketball, then now with the Guardians. And obviously, people think of Pete Rose, though, but I also think, though, recently of like Shane Pinto of the Ottawa Senators, who was popped half a season for gambling. Evander Kane was ratted out by his ex-wife for almost being suspended for gambling. Brad, how though, if you were able to, say, be commissioner for a day, how would you go about letting athletes wager, but what kind of restrictions would be on them if they were, placing a bet maybe on a game somewhere else in the sports world, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really easy. I would allow it, just not on the sport that you are participating in. So if you're an NHL player, that's all bets off. You cannot wager on a single drop of the puck and try to make some bucks event that is out there, whether you are a part of that team or not. It's off the table immediately. And if you are caught doing so, there's going to be harsh repercussions as a result. It could be a 3 strikes and you're out kind of rule. It could be, a high fine for the first offense. It could be a higher fine and longer suspension for the second offense. Third time it happens, you're gone. You get tossed to the game. I mean, period, end of story. That may be a sensible approach that I would implement if I were commissioner for a day in whatever sport it is. And, a lot of people are really debating from the college side more than anything else. The NCAA is going kind of back and forth on what they want to do. Should this punter from Iowa State be able to wager on a game involving the Minnesota Golden Gophers?
Right.
As long as he doesn't participate in that game against Minnesota, let him, possibly wager on it. Or you just say, look, if it's, a college football game, you can't bet on it, period, end of story. I mean, that's the debate that is there. I mean, again, if I were commissioner for a day, if you're in a sport at whatever level, you cannot bet on the sport that you are playing in, period, end of story. But if you want to wager that punter from Iowa State on a Major League Baseball game, go for it. You want to wager on the NFL? It's not the same level. You have no influence over it. Go for it. You want to wager on a basketball game? Totally permissible and allowable. Because if they're of legal age, they are a citizen of this country. If they live in a legal state, there should be no wall built that restricts them from doing what a common citizen can do. So it's just my 2 cents. Just don't play in your own sport, but you can play in other sports. That's totally allowable.
All right. We'll take a step away from that for a second. But I'm kind of curious how you got in the business, because you said you've been in the business a long time. So how did you get in the business? I'm kind of curious so people can hear.
I slept my way to the top, gentlemen. That's how I did.
Great answer.
No. Truth be told, it's a crazy story. I started as a educator, believe it or not. I ruined impressionable young minds at the high school level in Central Illinois. I graduated from the U of I, University of Illinois, in an undergrad. And my graduated my bachelor's degree. I have a graduate degree as well, but my bachelor's degree was in history with an emphasis in secondary education. That was my minor, basically. And then my master's degree is in geoscience with an emphasis in meteorology from Mississippi State University. So I'm not applying jack nor squat of what I paid for in college, primarily to my current profession. Now, I do work in a little weather nerd terminology from time to time when it's applicable for some of those snow games, some of those major, weather events that impact tackle football games across the board. But I started as an educator. I taught at-risk students at alternative high school. People are not familiar with that kind of student base. These are kids that some of them get kicked out. Some are not a good fit. Some are just looking for another opportunity at, the educational level that they're at, the high school level for me. And they want to get their GED. They want to get their high school diploma. And they just want an alternative to what is going on right now. So I had some interesting kids, to say the least. Some kids that had, some rough past. Some kids that were in the court system, some that were not. So it was a really interesting mix of humanity, and I learned a tremendous amount as an educator in my 6 years here in Illinois. They taught me a lot. Hopefully, I taught them a couple of things along the way, and I was doing that. And then on the side, I was writing for the site called talentedmrroto.com. It blew up. And that was run by Matthew Berry. Of course, everybody knows who he is in the industry and kind of in general. If you're a fan of Sunday Night Football, the bald guy that's on Sunday Night Football, that's Matthew Berry. So Berry got started, with his site. The site takes off. And then eventually Yahoo came calling and Berry goes, hey, you should talk to Brad Evans. He's one of our senior editors, one of our main writers. And, again, there's an entire backstory how I got attached to Barry and the site. And I don't want to belabor it. And I interviewed with Yahoo, flew out, I guess nailed it. I was one of 2 hires at the time, and we took off from there. So that was in 2006. We were the first ever live show on the internet with Fantasy Football Live. And I remember doing that on campus at University of Illinois in some deep, dark studio. And there's a camera in front of me. I'm just talking about football and fantasy, having a good old time with Brandon Funston and a couple other guys on camera. And I remember after the show was over, I hear this like eruption in my IFB in my ear. Yeah, F yeah, hell yeah, high five and all this stuff. I'm like, why is everybody so excited? We just made history. I'm like, we did? What did we do? We were the first ever live show on the internet, regardless of genre, talking about sports. I'm like, oh, awesome. That's great. And it took off from there. And of course, we did that. I was on that for 13 years until they laid me off in 2020. So, yeah, I've done a little bit of everything. I've been a show creator. I've been an executive producer, writer, editor. Hell, guys, I've sold shows to Crown Royal. So again, multiple hats. I wear them. I got to protect this very old dome because I don't have enough sunscreen applied to it. But it's a good time of the year. I don't have to worry about that.
Oh, I love it. Brad, what would be like one piece of advice that you would give to somebody out there watching who wants to try to get into the sports radio or sports media business in general? What would it be?
Yeah, look, again, that multiple hats, reference I keep talking about, it is very applicable. You got to be ultra versatile. And this is an old school, this kind of dates me, but you guys might know the name. I don't know if you remember Jose Oquendo.
Yeah.
Back in the 1980s. Guy played everywhere, right? You want to be a Swiss Army knife. You want to be a multi-dimensional position guy, and that's Jose Oquendo, what he was. And that's what you should strive to be in the industry. You got to learn how to write. You got to learn how to carry yourself on camera. You got to learn how to have a conversation behind the mic and just be a genuinely good person. That's the other big key in this. Establish relationships. Don't, worry or, fret over about cold calling some people. Have a conversation and be real. Be you. Because when you are genuine and when you are authentic, I think it really speaks volumes about how approachable and accessible you can be and how sellable you could be to an overall audience. So again, be multidimensional, be versatile, be you, and be kind. Those are the biggest piece of advice I can give.
So
Love it.
before having you on, I actually was a reader of the Gaming Juice. Actually.
Oh, sweet.
So I actually
You're
was
the one.
So I was a reader of the site. Can you talk about that? Because I remember, because I saw it across LinkedIn. I saw you putting this site together, and I saw you posting about it. Where was the idea of the formation of that?
Yeah, so I got laid off. I've been laid off like 3 times in my career. It's kind of the state of the industry right now in its ever involving way. So I got laid off from Yahoo at the end of 2019, started my own site, and I actually sold out of that after about a year. Then I got back into business with my guy, Dave Morgan, who I call the OG of Yahoo Sports. So he worked under Jimmy Bottaro, who now runs ESPN. I know Jimmy really well. Great dude, does a phenomenal job at ESPN. And Dave, kind of called me out of the blue. We kind of kept in touch here and there. And he goes, hey, I got this idea with this company called Boom Press. Maybe you could start your own site. I'm like, sure. So he kind of gave me the keys, got the site up and running. And we had a meeting with a small team. And he goes, anybody got any ideas of what do you want to call it? I don't know how I pulled it, but I pulled it straight from my ass. And I said, the Gaming Juice. That sounds good. Sure. Can we create an awesome graphic? Not a problem. And they did. I'm like, oh, that'll look great on a t-shirt or a hat. Works for me. And we took off from there. So started with Dave Morgan and a guy named Joe Lago, who's a former Yahoo as well. He's now at Sports Business Journal. Took that gig about 6 months ago. But yeah, it's me now entirely. So I build, I edit, I cut pictures, I write. I do a little bit of everything, and the great team at Boom Press runs all the bells and whistles behind the scenes. And Dave, of course, still very much in my life, acting CEO right now at Boom Press. So that was the impetus of it. I love writing. That's, how I got started in the business, and, crafting an opinion, in my overall opinion, is a necessity to help hone and craft other opinions in other forms of the business, whether behind the mic or in front of the camera. So I want to stay as sharp as possible when it comes to writing. And yeah, plus I just enjoy, scribbling some blurbs and making some random pop culture references when discussing over under on, RJ Harvey rush yards. So it's kind of fun.
Brad, do you have a good Jim Rome story? Because obviously Romey got his start here in San Diego on what was Extra Sports 690 back in the day. That was our Murderer's Row for who knows how long here with sports talk radio here in Southern California, San Diego, and then Tijuana, Baja California, Mexico. But do you have a good Rome story you can share real quick?
I don't, because you know why? I have never met Jim Rome in person. So,
what? Wow.
Well, look, I've only been with the new Westwood One Sports Network for a brief time. I mean, we flipped the switch. I was at the BetMGM network. That is no longer. So December 29th, we all jumped on board. I heard Rome's name on our just kind of introductory call behind the scenes, and Jim spoke up real quick, and I'm like, oh, this is surreal. Jim Rome. I'm actually going to be following him. Along with, Pat Boyle, our show is going to be following the great legendary Jim Rome. I was floored by that, but I have not physically met him in person. I think I've seen his lovely long flowing locks, and very envious that he still has, active follicles, because I would kill for that. I've seen him a couple times on Radio Row's various points in my life over the years, but I have never shook his hand. I've never actually had a face-to-face exchange. But I will remedy that soon once we all can gather and get in the flesh. And there could be a dozen beverages shared in the process.
Yes.
So,
man.
So are you guys going to be taking the network to the Super Bowl and Radio Row? Do you know if you guys are going or what the plan is for that?
Yeah, some of the shows are going to be there. I don't think our show is going because we're going to have some other plans around the NCAA tournament. And to be honest, if I had a choice between Super Bowl, and I've covered the Super Bowl 8 times in my career, and I love it. Trust me. I love Radio Row. I love the chaos. I love the madness. I love seeing and meeting new people all the time. But my jam, my lifeblood, what really gets things moving in my world is the NCAA tournament. And there is no better place than watching the NCAA tournament in the first weekend, wall-to-wall basketball, people, wiping the sleep out of their eyes and shaking off the hangover from the night before, than being in Sin City at a BetMGM or MGM property. And usually we're in Mandalay Bay, and they got an awesome sports book there. They set us up, and I'm watching, reacting in real time. I'm firing off bets, and I'm hanging with my people. So ultimately, that's probably where I'm going to be come the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. I think there might be some plans for next year's Super Bowl. We'll see. But this year, I'm not going to be there. But Nick Costos, who I love and adore, is going to be there. And of course, the legendary Jim Rome will be on location representing Westwood One Sports. So can't wait for those guys.
I love it. Brad, before we let you go, man, where can people find the show and where can they find you on the web?
Yeah, the show is on 300 plus terrestrial radio stations nationwide, Monday through Friday. It's called BetMGM Tonight, 6 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. You can stream it everywhere. We stream on X. You just look up BetMGM Tonight. I'm also streaming at Noisy Huevos on my personal page on X. YouTube as well, the BetMGM Tonight YouTube channel. You can find the show there. We're on SiriusXM as well, channel 375. So you have access to that terrific platform, which I worked for a couple of years back in the day. You can listen to the show there, again, Monday through Friday from 6 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Meanwhile, all my written content, the Bracket Big Board is back and in full effect.
Yeah,
all kinds of new fancy schmancy upgrades that we just implemented. No lie, today on this Wednesday, it is live right now at thegamingjuice.com. Going to be updating it every single day now through Selection Sunday with all of my college basketball content. Going to be rolling out there, my NFL content as well. Already have my AFC Championship playoff picks live on the site. So check out thegamingjuice.com. Folks, it's 100% free. And again, you can check me out at Noisy Huevos on X and maybe on your local street corner where I'm always doing all kinds of tricks.
Okay, one last question. I forgot to ask it. The Twitter handle. Can you explain that? Because Callan and I were trying to figure out the Twitter handle.
Okay, so it's kind of a mixed bag. My nickname, as I said earlier on the broadcast, is the Big Noise. How I got that, I grew up in Champaign, Illinois, where the University of Illinois is, and I lived down the street from a really good friend of mine about a block away. I have a loud, obnoxiously loud and booming voice. I've always had this. And I would just like step outside. I'd be talking to like my wiener dog or my mom or my dad or my sister or whatever. And they could hear me down the street. And I remember one of the older brothers, it was a family of three brothers, the Kleins. I would go down and what Jim Klein, I remember, said to me, man, Brad, I could hear you from, down the street. I could hear your loud ass up there. He goes, you know what you are? You're nothing but a big noise. It stuck. So there's Big Noise. That's how I got the nickname. I didn't come up with it. I didn't give it to myself. It's been a part of me since I was like 14, 15 years old. So sorry, America. So there's the noisy part. Now, where's the Huevos come in? I came up with this idea, it probably 15, longer than that, almost 20 years ago, called Team Huevos. And if you know anything, I took 4 years of Spanish. I don't remember jack nor squat. I remember like Donde está el baño, which was really important.
Where's the bathroom at?
Yeah, where's the bathroom? You got to know that.
Yes.
I love tequila. I grew up in San Antonio for a while too before I moved to Champaign. So, Latino and Latina culture is really ingrained in me. From South Texas in those days. I made a lot of trips to Mexico over the years. Absolutely love the country dearly. So the Huevos part, it's slang for balls. Yes. For people that don't know it, because people are like, oh, it's eggs. Yeah, it's eggs.
And for
balls, like cojones. So what I came up with was Team Huevos. You got to have the Huevos to make a certain selection, whether in fantasy or in betting. And when I got laid off of Yahoo, I was Yahoo Noise on X. I'm like, I got to come up with something new. I can't be Yahoo Noise for the rest of my career. They let me go. Sorry. So I got to drop the Yahoo, and I'm like, all right, how about Noisy Huevos? Sure, whatever. I just roll with it, and it stuck. So that is the origin story of Noisy Huevos, mi amigo.
Love it.
That's great. And by the way, I just want to say, because Callan and I have been talking a lot about the ISN, and we weren't happy and all that frustration. But would you say, Callan? I think we've learned a lot about Westwood One Sports and BetMGM, and I've listened to your show a bunch of times, and I like it. It's great, and I will give it more chance now because I always give people benefits of the doubt. That's what we do on this show. Like, we might be mad about one thing, but that's why we had you on, so we can hear another perspective of what the network is that took over. So that was more the perspective we wanted to have to give people a chance to understand what Westwood One Sports was. So
yeah, and I'm super jacked for it, guys. I'm really excited. It's a brand new way of looking and catering to the modern sports consumer, and that's our entire goal. Like I told you guys, with the betting side, with the fantasy side, traditional sports talk side, in various ways to access us, whether it's via the phone, via on Twitter or X, in your comments there, YouTube, in the chats that we have. We want to be approachable. We want to be accessible. And we know that a lot of the fans are listening to us. They have an opinion just like us. I'm just a dude. I'm just an idiot. I'm just a jackass with an opinion like anybody else. Do I get stuff wrong? Yes. Do I make donations to BetMGM on a regular basis? Absolutely. But I am going to be transparent. I'm going to be clear. And I'm going to try to make it as fun as possible because I always try to flip the script when I'm listening to, sports talk stations or whatever. I'm like, is this a show that I would be able to consume and enjoy? Does it have energy? Does it have information? I'm a numbers nerd. Does it have the data to back up? Are they reacting observationally to events that are going on right now? Yes. Can I call up and yell at these idiots because they're idiots? Absolutely. It checks all those boxes, and those are the shows that I've always been a part of. Those are shows I want to create because it really caters to my identity, and that's what we try to exhibit and exude every single day on BetMGM tonight, 6 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Check us out on the Westwood One Sports.
Brad, thank you. This was very informative. We had a good time, and hopefully we can talk sometime down the line for sure.
I appreciate the time, mi amigos, and I apologize if I am doing damage to your ears on a nightly basis.
Not at all. It's fine. We appreciate you, man. Have a great rest of your day.
See you.
You too, guys. We'll see you.
All right. Brad Evans of Westwood One Sports dropping by on Press Row. Love the energy on a Wednesday afternoon, Mr. Morgasen.
Oh, you know what? I've known Brad for a while. I've seen his content on Yahoo. I did read his site, believe it or not. That just so people understand, I didn't say, "Oh, I read the site." I actually have read his site quite a bit, The Gaming Juice, because it's a really good site. It's got a lot of good fantasy content. It's got some gambling content on it. I've listened to the show many times. It's the one show I can actually stomach. The others are kind of tough. You've tried listening to some of the other shows, the overnight show. But
work in progress.
But I like Brad. Brad's a good guy. He's not afraid to take the punches. He's not afraid to be funny and laughable and jokester, which is great. But that was awesome. That was
bringing the energy on a Wednesday is always good, though, too.
And there could be more guests where that comes from soon. I'm just going to say that now.
All right, Nick, we'll get back on track here. Go back to golf. For the second week in a row, we are recapping the LIV defection of Brooks Koepka. But now, of course, though, Nick, the other shoe that may, in fact, not fall is, of course, Bryson DeChambeau, who has told reporters he is looking at least a new contract extension from LIV Golf worth at least $500 million. I will say that. $500 million over 4 years to stay with the LIV golf circuit. With this current deal expiring at the end of the upcoming year and stars like Brooks Koepka going back to the PGA Tour, DeChambeau reportedly believes he is now the only needle mover left from a Saudi Arabia public investment funded backed golf league. He has even teased, though, Morgasen, that he could walk away from professional tours entirely to focus on his massive YouTube presence if his numbers and demands aren't met. Nick, if Bryson DeChambeau can command $500 million based on his YouTube leverage, has the value, though, of professional golf officially shifted from winning tournaments to now controlling the algorithm?
This is the most outrageous thing I've ever heard.
What?
Yeah, and I was looking for the where's the why the there.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God. Stop you fucking lying.
Seriously, dude? Like Bryson's gotten a little bit too big for his bridges. Would you say so?
I don't see. Yeah, I agree 100%.
I get it. And by the way, and I said this, and we talked about this off the side. I have no issue with the guys going to healthy competition to find a better deal. That's not my issue here. My issue is more where the money's coming from. That's a different issue.
All in favor.
But what the PGA Tour did last week, which we talked about, how they put in, what was it called, a one-time return policy or whatever,
which is basically like the portal window or the soccer transfer window being open. They have till February 1st, I think, or the 2nd to make their move back to the PGA. But again, as we talked about last week, though, Nick, there's a shitload of penalties, so they accumulate them when they come back from LIV, as we talked about with Koepka last Wednesday.
Right. So they want him to make a $5 million donation, which I thought was outrageous. By the way,
I think he's excluded from like financial winning for 5 years, I think, and dock points in the FedEx Cup standings, I think.
Yeah, the FedEx Cup he can't earn anything this year, which is outrageous. He's part of the tour. Like, so you're penalizing him because he took a bigger deal with the competition, which, where do you see someone get penalized in any other sport that has competition? Hey, the WNBA would like a word.
And we can save that for David Samson coming up in about an hour's time.
True, but I think there's two ridiculous parts to this. One is Bryson's overvaluing himself by a long margin.
I think so.
And at the same time, though, it's hard to find a hot commodity also that brings in a lot of views and could do that. Now, I can we look this up? Because Bryson's saying he's got YouTube. What was the quote you used in the... It was, YouTube leverage?
Yes.
All right, so I just opened his... wow, he does have 2.6 million YouTube subscribers.
Holy shit.
So, but would you really call that YouTube leverage, though?
Nah, I don't think it's leverage.
Could he live off that? Probably.
I think so.
Not that he needs the money. That's what's bothering me here. These guys have money, and we're arguing about hundreds of millions of dollars more.
Right. Where, again, he's looking for $500 million to go and get that 4-year deal from LIV.
Well, he already was with LIV. He was one of the guys that...
Yeah.
I think he got, like close to 300? I have to look this up.
I think so. Well, I know John Rahm cashed out pretty good when he first went there, too.
Let's see if I can find it. So, Bryson DeChambeau is currently negotiating a new potentially massive contract with Live Golf as his initial... he had a $125 million deal originally.
Okay, that's not bad.
Do you realize that's 4 times what he's making?
That's insane.
That I don't get that. Do you? How do you go from 125 million to 500 million?
No idea. I don't understand it.
You made enough money. Stop. And you know me. I'm not usually one to reach into someone's pockets and judge what they do. But seriously? You made 125 million plus whatever you won in these tournaments. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you already have enough as is, though. So why do you need to seek more money for a new contract?
You're forgetting also, what did we talk about last week about the deal he signed also? Kalshi.
That's right. And we're talking about Kalshi and Poly Market here in a few segments.
So here's the problem. PGA Tour does not allow prediction markets. So
LIV does.
So he couldn't go back to the PGA Tour if he wanted to go back to the PGA Tour because of his deal with Kalshi, which is probably paying him a pretty penny if I had to take a guess. So someone who's bitching and moaning over money, how is this? This is not right.
Yeah, this isn't right. And I wonder, though, Nick, especially now, before we move on here, is LIV now living on borrowed time?
Apparently not, because they have the Saudi Public Interest Fund behind it. Think about it.
Even despite that they've been getting even despite them getting their ass kicked on television with ratings,
They don't care.
Jumping from the CW to FS1.
Yeah. They don't care. They don't care. They have oil money. I'm going to look this up because I want to get a number. I want to see what the fund is worth, or if that, I don't even know if that number would be out there.
No, I doubt it, sadly.
Oh, wait. Saudi. Wow. Okay. I did not expect it to be that high. Saudi Arabia's public interest fund is worth over $900 billion. What? Yeah. What? And now they're saying in 2025 they shifted assets, and now it's worth from $913 billion to $941 billion. Like, what? And it says your mouth might drop on this one. They're targeting $2 trillion by 2030.
Holy shit.
But this is the point I'm trying to make. They don't care. This goes back to the Dodgers situation with the hedge fund. Where
they don't care. They don't care. They'll take whatever losses they do rack up because they know damn well they'll have that money back in their pocket within a week.
And bingo, exactly. That's my point. $900 billion, $2 trillion by 2030. You think they really care about $125 million that they gave to President DeChambeau or
don't change?
Do you remember they offered Tiger Woods like $800 million to come play for LIV when he didn't even need the money?
Yeah, like he did. Exactly.
He's worth over $1 billion. My mind is blown at the amount of money that is involved with LIV, but they're never going to be the PGA Tour.
Oh, hell
never.
No.
This is like, now, the only one in a competitive stature across all sports, I could see Unrivaled taking out the WNBA. I could see Project B taking out the WNBA because there's way more investment and more smarter people involved running those leagues. And then you have an idiot in Kathy Engelbert who runs the WNBA. So that's the only way I see that competition butting heads. Golf, LIV is just going to keep throwing money at stuff. Are they going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars? Yeah. But as long as the oil money keeps coming in, they don't care.
I mean, would you and I take the money if we were asked to come and commentate for Fox for LIV?
See, this is a tough question, and you have to admit it's a tough question because how often do you see money like that?
You hardly ever.
Now, if you want to throw out the teeter-totter, I call it, as money versus sanity or reality. I don't even know if it's reality, or I'm trying to think of the word, morals. Money versus morals. Now, I think broadcasting is different than actually playing in it.
Yes.
So I think we would have a much easier decision on a broadcasting front.
Agreed.
Than we would on, say, hey, what, you want to come play with the LIV golfers and play an event? No.
I golf anyway.
I've gone out and played half a course before before my grandfather passed away to Florida. And I had a good time, and I hit off the range, and apparently I was a really good striker off the tee when you would just take me to the range, and I hit like 4 or 5 balls. Like, you know how sometimes like all the way across the range they have the houses or whatever? Yes. I was young at the time too. I was like a teenager, I think, or mid teenager, like 16, 17. I hit one 300 yards off the tee.
Damn.
And I hit the house. What? And my grandfather at the time, he looked at me like this. He was like, and I'm like, don't ask me. I don't know how I did it. I don't know what I did.
This is a one-time thing.
Actually, I did it like 4 or 5 times that day. But like, what? Yeah, but and I said to my grandfather, no.
Are you kidding me? That's right. Who do you think you are? I am.
Yeah. And
You're welcome, everybody.
And I said, "You're not putting me into golf. I'm not wearing the stupid golf clothes. I just like to go out and hit on the range." That's it.
I think you would have looked good wearing some Payne Stewart inspired colors. God bless his soul, by the way. All right, Nick, let's get to the NFL real quick. Fox and CBS's pregame war continues, but Fox NFL Sunday has once again beaten CBS in the pregame ratings for 32 consecutive years now. But now as CBS tries to end the streak, rumors are now swirling that they are ready to break the bank for Travis Kelce if he retires. Kelce represents a culture-shifting personality that CBS believes could finally lure the younger demographic away from the Terry Bradshaw, Howie Long era over at Fox. Nick, in a media world that is currently owned right now by clips and social feeds, does a legacy pregame show still have enough value to justify a record-breaking contract for a personality like Travis Kelce?
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
That's my thought. Travis Kelce. What? Yeah, well, Travis Kelce already does a great podcast called The New Heights. Okay? He got a $100 million deal, I think, from Amazon or wherever it is now. I don't know if it's part of Amazon anymore. But does he really need to go into broadcasting? Really?
I could say the same thing for Mike Tomlin.
Well, you beat me to my point on that one. I thought originally when you had said that you were going to say, oh, well, all right, these networks are going to go ramp up for Mike Tomlin. And now that the reports are that Tomlin might not go back to coaching anymore, he might become the next Bill Cowher. Maybe. Ironically, the last 2 coaches of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Correct.
Do I think Travis Kelce will be good on TV? Yeah. He's got the personality for TV. Does he need to? Does he need to? No.
No. Does he need to? No. Would he be a good fit, though? I think yes.
I wouldn't put him on a game. I'd put him.
I think he would be like a studio analyst, probably.
He'd fit in with the rest of the former players. They just lost Matt Ryan to the Falcons front office.
And they brought in two new guys, I think, including Kirk Cousins, or not Kirk Cousins.
For the playoffs. At least for the playoffs. They brought in Kirk Cousins, which, by the way, I think Kirk Cousins would be amazing. You like that? You like that? Yeah.
Kelce says that Kelce does have a big personality, so I think he can do well at broadcasting. But then again, I think he can do well at anything he does.
Yeah, that's not the question here. It's more of
CBS has had their face kicked in by Fox for pregame NFL coverage for as long as I've been alive, for 32 years.
Yeah, but I would say CBS has caught up over the years. I think
they have. And I also think, though, and I hate to say this, part of me does wonder, though, if Fox is starting to go downhill because of Terry Bradshaw's health and condition right now.
Well, and this is no slight at him, but he's having trouble in remembering stuff.
Yeah.
And he keeps saying, "Oh, you're gonna have to pull me out of the studio." Terry, I love you. You've been great. No problems with you. But it might be time to go soon.
Yeah, it might be. And that's tough to say for a guy who has spent so much of his life giving back to the NFL after his time with the Steelers and all the success he had. Yeah.
I love him. He knows football better than anybody. But when you're starting to forget, and you have this weird thing against Aaron Rodgers saying you've never met him before in a Steelers uniform. But I don't know. But the Fox pregame show will always be number one. And I'm trying to think off the top of my head. So that's Howie Long.
It's Kurt Menefee, Bradshaw, Howie Long, Strahan, and Jimmy Johnson. And Gronk.
No, I don't think Jimmy Johnson's on anymore.
Yeah, Gronk replaced Jimmy Johnson.
I like Gronk, by the way, too. I think that was a great pickup. And by the way, now you have the number one all-time Patriots connection working together on Fox too. Actually, three of them.
And Gronk, yeah.
Actually, three of them. You have Edelman too.
Julian Edelman too, yeah.
I don't know. Fox is always going to win the NFL pregame show, but if they somehow got Travis Kelce, you're telling me that the digital numbers wouldn't pick up for the NFL on CBS pregame show?
Exactly.
Because they would try to make clips out of it, like, oh, if we have Travis Kelce, that means we can get Taylor Swift's audience and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So,
yeah, which, again, the NFL has lacked for a long time to tap into the female demographic for a long time. Yeah. All right, Nick, back to another media spat as Pat McAfee is back in the limelight involving Pablo Torre. But the feud between traditional journalism and the new media exploded this week as Pablo Torre clapped back at Pat McAfee's recent shots at reporters in wake of Lynn Jones Turpin's praise of Liam Cohen. Torre claimed that bad actors in the sports world would love McAfee's insightfulness because it allows them to use this platform as a shield against actual accountability. Pablo further argued that McAfee's child's understanding of the media is exactly what powerful executives want to keep fans in the dark. Nick, is there any room for middle ground when celebratory media can coexist with investigative journalism, or is McAfee's success effectively rendering the tough question reporter obsolete, in your opinion?
This is such a stupid thing. Like, there's room for everybody in this space. Are we going more towards the influencer route and the big athlete podcast route? Yeah, that's where we're heading. But McAfee acts like he's the only one that rues the roast, so to speak. And I love Pat. I listen to Pat McAfee's show every single day. But there are times when he says things that rub people the wrong way. And I still don't understand why we're overreacting to this Jaguars thing. And
I don't get it either. I think it's stupid.
What was her name again?
Lynn Jones Turpin.
Lynn Jones Turpin, who was sitting, front row in front of Liam Cohen and was praising that they had a good season. Oh, God forbid we be positive about a season. And it's all got to be. But no, we got to ask negative questions, and we got to say, well, you didn't make it to the Super Bowl, so your season's a failure, and should you keep your job? Like, enough.
All right, Nick, here's a stupid question. Why does this come off, though, Pablo Torre sounding off on McAfee, smell and reek of jealousy because Torre got let go from ESPN and McAfee has come in, and now, McAfee's become the biggest polarizing figure not named SAS at the four-letter network.
He wasn't let go. He still does, from time to time, he does fill-ins on PTI. He does some fill-ins on shows. But he left he has ownership now in Meadowlark.
Yeah.
So I think he just took a better deal. He was never let go.
That might be true, but in a way, it's almost what we heard last week in some way about, where McAfee, I think had said something I forget now, but something had come up though about McAfee, and it was a whole thing like this, traditional journalism now versus former player or influencer social media stuff. I mean, Nick, there needs to be middle ground, though, because we have talked so much, though, Nick, for 3 weeks as we come back from the holiday break on our show. And we've had, 5 or 6 guests now in 3 weeks here on PR is, we have obviously been talking about traditional media, sports talk radio, now with what we like to call Wagertainment, where it's not about wins and losses, but about did my parlay hit? Did the over-under hit? Did someone cover the spread, whatever else it is in gambling terms, where now it's there is no middle ground, Nick, but there needs to be middle ground for the traditional journalists like a Pablo Torre to do their job, but also the influencer, celebratory, celebrity people like McAfee to do their job too. Until we actually get cohesion among both of these sides of the argument, everybody loses, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, Pablo is really good at what he does with his show.
We'll talk a bit more about him, by the way, in a couple of segments here about the NBA.
it's great. He does a great investigative podcast. People just don't like the fact that he's figuring out information before other people do. And I think there's a little jealousy of his show too. Go ask what's her name? Bill Belichick's girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, who was nasty to me in a DM also. But I think Pat McAfee has such a big head that he could just say and do whatever he wants, which he can. ESPN basically gave him a free road and said, "You do what you want." They licensed his show to ESPN. They don't even use the ESPN lower thirds. They use his lower thirds on their show. Because why? Because he has the audience and he has the pull. And he has an audience, a massive audience that comes in. Pablo's getting, first of all, no one's going to be as big as Pat McAfee. That's like unheard of numbers that he pulls in between being on ESPN now that they put his show on TV for 2 out of the 3 hours, or on YouTube digitally. But Pablo has a really good show. Like, started with Metal Arc, and Metal Arc licensed it to, what was it? The Athletic,
Yes.
or I think, or the New York Times, whatever it was. Well, they own each other, but I don't know. This whole thing is stupid. Like, I'm an athlete, so I'm against pure journalism, and I'm going to tell all the journalisms to F off and whatever.
Ryan Clark with Peter Schrager last year, as I long said.
Oh, fuck off, Ryan Clark. I'm so tired of Ryan Clark. Like, Ryan Clark thinks that because he's an athlete, like, his shit don't stink, and he can just say whatever he wants. He can tell Peter Schrager, "I don't like you, and I'm gonna pin you like a piñata at a kid's birthday party." Like, this whole journalism versus former athlete is so freaking stupid that there's room for everybody. Just stop.
Yeah, and Nick, I recall that because this year marks 5 years since the San Diego Wave of the National Women's Soccer League came to San Diego. And I spent the first 2 years of my time as a third-party writer covering the team for a independent website called San Diego Sports Domination. They needed a writer, and I said, "Hey, I'll come and do it." So I recall, though, going to all the post-game media scrums. You know, I got to interview Alex Morgan, Callan, and all the Wave players, win, lose, or draw. And I recall that the team had gone to Seattle to play what was then called the OL Reign, now the Seattle Reign FC, at Lumen Field, where the Seahawks play. Tom Kraskovic, who's one of the local writers, opens up his story covering the Wave in the local newspaper and says, "Hey, did you know the last time there was an important football game of some type involving San Diego, Seattle was a Chargers-Seahawks game in 2000 whatever?" I'm reading this, I'm like, so let's reopen up the trauma of the Chargers leaving, and let's fit the newest team in town into a narrative about American football. Why does this comparison need to be made about San Diego, Seattle for football or soccer? And also, Tom was kind of an idiot, though, when it came to asking questions in the post-game media scrum. Like, the players aren't going to, answer questions about the referees every match because they're going to get fined every damn time. Neither's the head coach. So in a way, it got very abrasive because I would always ask questions about, a certain play or, this play going right, how the crowd helped you come back trailing 2-0. You got 6,000 people at Torero Stadium overflowing the concourse to watch you tie the game in the last 2 minutes of gameplay. Like, the emotion about that. And then you got, one snippy writer. Well, hey, can you comment about the referees? Well, hey, how do you feel about going to Seattle, playing there since the Chargers left? And a lot of people, Nick, would look at these writers like, are you this bleeping stupid? So it's like, can there be cohesion between traditional journalists doing their job and people like me, for example, like a new age writer, asking questions about the game? Sure. But there needs to be something needs to be done to really address this sort of thing, I would say. But I don't know, though, what the right remedy would be.
Sorry, I'm a little distracted because I'm seeing some tweets via Alexa Philippou about the WNBA 2026 season release.
The schedule?
Yeah. So this I'm gonna read you some tweets that she's put out in the last 13 minutes, 3 of them. What to know about the WNBA's 2026 season. Regular season schedule to run May 8th to September 24th. Playoffs to start September 27th. 44 regular season games per team, same as 25. Break for World Cup to run for August 31st to September 16th.
FIBA World Cup. Yes.
Another tweet. Quote, releasing the 2026 schedule is a key step as we prepare for the WNBA's 30th season and allow teams, partners, broadcasters, and fans to begin the essential planning of the year ahead.
So even with the lockout, they're still operating as business as usual.
But something's not adding up because we still don't have any news on the season.
We don't.
So she goes on to say the league views the schedule release as a necessary part of business operations that allows teams to start logistical planning, sell ticket packages, also to secure optimal arena dates, all the more crucial for teams who don't own their arenas. But we don't have a season yet. What?
The LA Sparks schedule has been released.
But how can the schedule be released?
I just checked their schedule.
But wait a minute. We don't have a CBA.
So LA is set to take on the Aces at Crypto.com on May 10th for their home opener at 3 o'clock Pacific time.
So Alexa Philippou 6 seconds ago just put this out, saying some other notes. The Commissioners Cup will run from June 1st to June 17th.
Correct.
With a title game played on June 30th. The Sparks will host the Liberty on June 21st in a rematch of the WNBA's inaugural game.
30 years to the day.
All-Star Weekend will be July 24th to 25th. But again, how are we announcing dates without a CBA? Am I missing something here?
I mean, well, okay, before we move on and get to some WNBA talk here, I do believe, though, Nick, that Major League Baseball, when the lockout happened in 22, they still had the schedule released and ready to go. So I think that even with the lockout in progress, the league in some capacity still needs to have a pulse of life, apparently, and put out the schedule regardless if there's going to be a season or not.
Yeah, but what happens if you start selling tickets and all this stuff and no games get played?
I mean, they do have a ticket link, but I don't know if it is operational yet. Let me go back and double check.
But you understand why this partially doesn't make sense, right?
No, the ticket link does not work yet. There you go.
But I'm saying you understand how this doesn't make sense, that there's no collective bargaining. So how can they be discussing seasonal dates, including the All-Star game and the Commissioner's Cup and all this stuff? How does that make sense?
It makes no sense.
But if you know how Kathleen Engelbert operates, she does everything ass backwards.
And the full schedule it just went to the league website. Full schedule is available for people to at least look at and get your hopes and dreams about there being a season.
Right. But again, you know what this is? This goes back to what we said last week. Remember we debated on, is the WNBA at fault, or are the players at fault, or is it a PR stunt by the WNBA that they're trying to do all this stuff by allowing free agency, allowing the moratorium? Is this another PR stunt by
let alone releasing a schedule with no certainty of there being a season?
So that this has to be a PR stunt by the WNBA.
Which, by the way, before we move on here and get to some talk about the WNBA, real quick, there are some other scheduling here. The Toronto Tempo will have their first home game, inaugural game in franchise history, May 8th, if the schedule works out, against Washington. The Portland Fire will play their first game in over 20 years in Portland at Moda Center, May 9th against your girl, Angel Reese, and the Chicago Sky.
Yeah. But again, they should not be announcing any dates. There's no CBA.
By the way, just furthermore, just hang with me here. 6 teams will have 6 teams are going to be playing at least 19 total games between different venues that will accommodate larger crowds than their normal home arenas.
Chicago.
Hang on. Toronto, due to the fact of earlier comments made by Larry Tannenbaum, the owner, that this team will be barnstorming across all of Canada. Majority of their home games will be at the Coca-Cola Coliseum in Toronto. They'll have 3 games at Scotiabank Arena, where the Raptors and Maple Leafs play, 2 games at Le Centre des Belles in Montreal, and games at Rogers Arena in Vancouver, British Columbia, home of the Vancouver Canucks, Golden Eyes, and Warriors. That's the NLL and PWHL. The Aces will play 3 games at T-Mobile Arena, home of the Golden Knights, including against Phoenix in their home opener. I believe it's their home opener. Yes, their home opener is going to be at T-Mobile Arena. And then 2 games with Chicago in Indiana, July 3rd and 5th. Let's see. The Mystics will play their final regular season home game at Capital One Arena, home of the Capitals and Wizards, on the 24th of September against Chicago. The Sky will play the Aces and the Fever at United Center in Chicago. The Sun, who are going to be on their way to Houston pretty soon, will take on the Sparks and the Dallas Wings at People's Bank Arena in Hartford, Connecticut, and host LA again at TD Garden in Boston, August 18th, for probably their farewell swing through the upper Northeast, while the Wings will play Chicago, Golden State, and Indiana at American Airlines Arena in Dallas, Texas, home of the Mavericks and Stars, beginning on August 20th. And for those who care about the Commissioner's Cup, the Eastern Conference will feature Atlanta, Chicago, Connecticut, Indiana, New York, Toronto, and Washington, while the West will feature Dallas, Golden State, Vegas, LA, Minnesota, Phoenix, Portland, and Seattle.
I don't know. My mind is still not spinning around the fact that we don't have a CBA. So how can they be announcing any scheduling?
Talk to Major League Baseball about that. Let's move on, Nick, here to another one regarding the WNBA, though, but of course, longtime WNBA legend, now current Team One analyst alongside Ryan Rucco. Rebecca Lobo did issue a warning to WNBA players regarding their rhetoric during the ongoing CBA negotiations. After some players described proposed salary increases as a slap in the face, Lobo did note that the public, most of whom earn far less than the proposed $500,000 average, will quickly lose sympathy for the players and the players' union. She urged the players to be more careful with their articulation to avoid alienating the casual fans the league is desperately trying to get and needs to have. But, Nick, is Rebecca Lobo right, though, that inflated rhetoric could destroy the league's newfound public goodwill, or is outrage the only way for the players to secure a fair share of the league's record-breaking revenue? Nick, I don't care about rhetoric. This league, call it for what it is, though, regarding leadership, people have never cared about this league, Nick, until Caitlin Clark and them came along. It's just call it for what it is.
Oh, you mean the Caitlin Clark effect?
Exactly.
Like that possible benchmarks we might be doing?
Exactly.
Yeah, well, if it wasn't... Caitlin Clark did spike the numbers. We can't deny that. But there's plenty of other players in the W. People forget about Asia Wilson and Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, Sabrina Collier. Like, it's not a one-player-fits-all league. Now, it kind of reminds me a little bit of what LeBron was for 20-plus years in the NBA, which was the big name of the league for many years. And the NBA kind of rode the LeBron James coattails for 20-plus years. And they're going to ride it all the way to the retirement tour, whenever that is. But
hey, by the way, Nick, I don't know if you read this one, but Alexa Philippou did say, per a WNBA spokesperson about 20 minutes ago, regarding the schedule release, release of the schedule is a key step as we prepare for the league's 30th season, which will allow the teams, partners, broadcasters, and fans to begin the essential planning for the year ahead. But again, there's no CBA in place.
Yeah, I don't buy that. But yeah, Caitlin Clark has helped kind of fuel the WNBA because it was kind of stuck like here for many years. And then Caitlin Clark sprung it to the moon because of all the attention she brought the WNBA. But it also allowed us to see the New York Liberty and how high they are
The Aces.
The Aces winning, what, 3 out of 5? Like,
Yeah.
That team's incredible, by the way. Yeah, I don't know. The rhetoric is just stupid. I'm tired of rhetoric and what people say. Like, there's plenty of players, there's plenty of room, and this is all over the stupid CBA negotiations. And how do they fix it? Just pay the damn players. That's it. Just give them the money that they're deserving and stop being greedy bastards as owners and keeping all the money for yourself. Because if we don't change this, and we're going to ask David Samson in about 15 minutes about this, because he had would you say a very virality comment about that the W could shut down possibly because he thinks they might not come to a deal.
And we both actually thought he was right about some of his commentary.
Right. Now, do I think the W's ever going to shut down? No. Do I think it could? It could.
Maybe.
But I think all the other competition is hurting it.
Yeah.
Because the W used to be the only thing in town that the women's basketball players could play in.
All right, Nick, real quick before I got to step out here for just a minute, though. How about Gino Auriemma? Following a UConn victory, team head coach Gino Auriemma took aim at the post-game pizza given to the team in the locker room, calling it cardboard with red stuff, despite UConn or Connecticut claiming to be the pizza capital of the world. Gino, a Italian from Philly, declared my ass and promised to bring in his own food to show the team what real pizza tastes like. Nick, at what point, though, does a coach's authentic personality become a liability when they start publicly trashing local sponsors and regional pride during a post-game presser where, Nick, let's just call for what is real quick. We have two combustible elements to what UConn coaching. Gino a little bit, and, of course, Dan Hurley.
I love it. I think it's great. Gino's a huge personality. And you know what? Does it look bad on the surface of it? Yeah, it does look bad on the surface of it. But at the same time, I don't have a problem with it. Like, players are allowed to have personality. Why aren't the coaches allowed to have personality? So I think we're overreacting to this situation when it comes to we're handling comments that Gino said. Gino's been the coach at UConn for God knows how long. I want to look this up just to see how long. But he's been there so long that I think he pretty much owns UConn at this point. 40 seasons. Been there for 40 seasons. So I think people are just way, way, way overreacting to this situation. It's pizza, okay? I think he was trying to have a little bit of fun with the media. Connecticut is one of the pizza capitals of the country. You have Connecticut, you have New York, I think Boston, Chicago. Those are all like the big pizza capitals of the country. But I did find it funny, though, that he called it cardboard with red stuff on it. Come on, you have to admit that's a little funny. Have a sense of humor, will you? Please. If you can't have a sense of humor in this business, whether it's in sports, whether you're playing the sport or coaching the team or being a player or being in the media like we are, then don't be in this business because you need a sense of humor when it comes to these types of things. Being a head coach, especially for 40 seasons, 40 years, is a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. So these guys are serious most of the time during the season. Let's have some fun with it, please. Like, calling cardboard with red stuff is the funniest thing ever. Like,
Pizza capital of the world, my ass.
it just get a hello, is this Pizza Castle? Like,
oh,
yeah.
Jeez. You know, it's funny. You know, Nick, it's funny because Gino actually has a restaurant, I think, on the campus of the University of Connecticut in Stores.
He does?
I believe he does. I don't know if it's a steak. I forget if it's a pizzeria or a steakhouse, but there's a restaurant named Gino's, I think, on the campus in Stores.
It's his place?
I believe it is. I went to it a while back when I was helping my uncle and aunt move back to California from Connecticut. We drove across the country.
So it's called Cafe Aura.
Yes, that's okay. Yeah,
In Manchester, Connecticut. It's an Italian restaurant specializing in modern Italian cuisine that opened in late 2019 after renovating the former Cavi's.
it's crazy because you said this is Gino's 40th year. He got the job at a Dunkin' Donuts. He was asked by the AD to coach the women's basketball team, and they went to breakfast, I'm guessing, at Dunkin' Donuts, and he got the job right there, apparently, from what I remember reading about.
Hey, sometimes the strangest things happen, and that's how you end up with business deals or jobs or anything.
But I have long been a Gino fan. I mean, I got to watch UConn play when they were like the juggernaut in the early 2000s at Gamble Pavilion. Like, this is how you support women's sports, and that was still with Diana Taurasi playing. I think Bird was already on her way out, like 2004, I want to say. And then, I think though, Nick, I gained more respect for Gino after Pat Summitt passed away, because Gino even said post-game when they played Tennessee, I think the year after Pat had passed away, he said, he was visibly shaken. He just said, I just miss her. Tonight did not have the same feel playing against that school and not seeing her on the sideline barking at the referees. And I also remember that when UConn did play Tennessee, when they launched the Pat Summitt Foundation, who was the first person to open up his wallet and donate to the foundation? Gino Auriemma.
Right. Yep.
But I mean, the rant was great. I thought it was funny. Simple as that.
Cardboard with red stuff on it will always be
like
funny.
I said, though, because it is a fun tie-in, because Nick, I mentioned before I stepped away for a sec, was about Dan Hurley. He's a very much polarizing figure. Him and Gino, obviously, they have won national titles at UConn, and by the way, Dan Hurley might be the most explosive coach to the media. I think he went on a rant about his chair being too small for him.
That's an understatement.
Last game, he's ripped his own team. He's ripped the officials. He's, ripped fans of the opposing school for heckling him during the course of a game.
Oh, please.
But I also, though, Nick, remember, I think I sent you a video that I forgot who it was, but I recall, though, that they made Hurley listen to some of the music that his kids listen to pregame.
Yes.
And he's like, how does this get you fired up for a game?
No, he's like, ooh, I can't listen to this.
Yes. But I think you're right, though. If you don't have any personality, then why are you involved in this space in the first place? Coaching or even broadcasting?
Coaching, broadcasting, player. The players are allowed to have personalities. Why aren't the coaches? Oh, well, you're the coach. You're supposed to be all serious all the time, and you're supposed to run the team and the X's and O's and blah, 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 blah. Shut up. Please. Yeah, please. If your coach can't have a personality, what's the point?
I mean, but Nick, I think what's getting lost here is that I don't think Gino actually ripped like the pizza sponsor of the team.
No.
He just said that the pizza, was cardboard with red sauce, pizza capital of the world, my ass.
I think that's hilarious. I think it's amazing.
Now, if he would have come out and actually trashed whoever is the pizza provider for UConn Athletics, then yes, I would say, okay, Gino, calm the brakes here a little bit. But I don't think he mentioned anybody by name. He just said that the pizza was not good.
I'm trying to look this up to see if I can find out what it is.
Now, if it was Papa John's, he has all the right in the world to crap on their grave.
UConn Athletics has a sponsorship with Frank Pepe Pizzeria I can't remember. Napolitana? Is that how you say that? Napolitana.
Napolitana.
The team's primary pizza provider, Gino Auriemma, recently had Pepe's hand delivered after a viral rant, elevating them to the pizza capital of the world standard.
Okay.
So I don't know. Now I want to try this place in Connecticut.
Hey, just go to Mystic Pizza on the Seaport where they shot the movie.
Oh, that's a good idea too.
Yeah, I've been there, done that. Place is incredible. It's always got a line out the door usually.
Yeah. By the way, as we continue to get closer, about 5-ish minutes from now, David Samson hopefully joins us. If you missed the interview with Brad Evans, you can go back and watch this. Actually, on the YouTube feature, you can actually go backwards and watch the show. You can rewind now on YouTube. Yes. And you will get all these interviews separate on our YouTube channel, too, if you want to watch those. So don't worry if you miss Brad Evans and you missed the power of baldness, you'll get to see that later on. I'll have that by tomorrow, probably. He was on for like 35 minutes. It was great.
Yeah, 35 minutes up to the top of the hour. He was great.
And makes me want to listen to that show. That show. Nothing else. That show on BetMGM tonight. So what else do we have left? Do we have anything left before?
We do. Let's take a quick break, Nick, and get ready to, or at least advertise what we have coming up on our week of programs here for the remainder of this week.
So Forever Power 5 finale episode for the season will be out Friday. Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. They will obviously recap Indiana winning the national championship. That game was a lot closer than everyone expected. Some fun moments out of the game. Also, a certain somebody unfortunately showed up to the game as well. I'm sure they'll get into that. Yeah, so they'll kind of recap. They're going to recap and put a bow on the college football season. Hard to believe, right? What else do we have coming up? Bando's Breakdowns Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. We do have a guest coming up in there. I can't remember because he has so many guests coming up. But that'll air 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific on Friday. Football Forecast will be live on Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Pacific. And all I'm going to say, well, that. But all I'm going to say is... Yeah, just be warned. But yeah, and then what else do we have coming up on the weekend? Between the Ropes.
Yeah, we have a Between the Ropes, another special or another Saturday night of the Lounge, and then Sunday a new episode of Benchmarks comes out.
And then you're back on Monday for the Lounge.
Yes, we're back on Monday for the Lounge.
So if you can't find anything in the 7 days, then either you're not with it or you're out to lunch somewhere. Hopefully it's not Frank Pepe's Napolitana Pizzeria. But if you can't find something, that's on you. And yeah, and then we're going to transition seasons. Gridiron Gridlock will become Hardwood Game Day.
Basketball.
Yeah, see, that doesn't feel the same without playback anymore. But so that'll go back to Saturdays, and he'll be previewing most of the college basketball season. Well, not preview; it's already on. But
nitty gritty as we get ready for conference tournaments and, of course, March Madness.
And before you know it, Hitting for the Cycle has come back already. We're going to be in spring training soon for baseball. Or pitchers and catchers reporting, actually. What? So, Hitting for the Cycle is back. Ben Cruz, Ryan Tui, and what's David's last name?
Yes.
Waitman, sorry, David. So the three of them will be with you every week during the baseball season. So make sure you tune in for all that. So that's a lot of content coming up for you. So be forewarned.
All right, Nick, I think we have time to get to one story to begin hour 3 before we get David Samson on the program today. Again, David's going to be talking all things Major League Baseball, some WNBA comments he made as well, coming up here very shortly. But, Nick, let's get to one, though, to begin hour 3. The ESPY Awards is moving out of their home in Los Angeles, California, and heading to New York City for the upcoming Fanatics Fest coming up. What? As ESPN is moving the ESPYs to New York City to align with the massive Fanatics Fest and, of course, the World Cup final from MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. This will mark a departure from the show's 25-year history in Los Angeles, California. The move will signal a deeper integration between ESPN and Michael Rubin's Fanatics empire, turning an award show into a weekend-long consumer activation. Nick, does moving the ESPYs to NYC to sync with the Merchandise Festival prove that sports awards have devolved into nothing more than a giant retail pop-up shop in your mind?
Fanatics. Fanatics is like owning everything right now. They used to be what? An apparel store? And
now they are the official jersey provider for the NHL.
Well, and the failed attempt at Major League Baseball, which, like, wasn't that where the see-through pants or whatever? Which that was kind of ridiculous.
Small lettering.
Also, the letters were like past the armpits.
Yep.
Like, do you remember the long names from back in the day where it would go from like shoulder
Jared Saltalamacchia?
Yes, exactly.
Woods Richardson of the Twins comes to mind.
Right. But this is more of a financial consolidation move because now ESPN is doing more work with Fanatics. And they're going to be working with Tom Brady. They're going to be working with a bunch of names. This is more consolidation, making deals, essentially.
I mean, pretty much, it will feel weird that the Peacock Theater in downtown LA or Crypto.com is no longer the home of the ESPYs for 1 year at least. Nick, but I know, though, that you have gone to Fanatics Fest before, though. Can you kind of maybe tell the public who's never gone to it, like, what it's like in a way? I think of it as like the sports version of Comic-Con, which is a huge thing here in San Diego every July, basically.
Bigger.
But yeah, so go ahead and, tell the folks about Fanatics Fest if you can real quick.
Yeah, it's bigger than Comic-Con. It takes up like it's also at the Javits Center in New York where the New York version of Comic-Con is.
Yes.
But this is on like 3 floors. It's crazy big. Like the different events they put on. They have all the sporting events that are represented. They have MLB, NBA, NHL, NFL, soccer, WNBA. Everything is represented, and they bring a bunch of athletes, which you can pay to take pictures or to get autographs or all that stuff. They do a bunch of free stuff too. I have some pictures with some UFC fighters, which was fun. But yeah, like it's a cool event where athletes and leagues get together. You know what I mean? Like do I think it's a little expensive? Yes.
Speaking of Fanatics, here is what the NHL jerseys now look like because of Fanatics having the rights to make the uniforms now for the NHL.
That actually looks good. Wow.
And there is discussion of the NHL getting a City Connect program next year per reports that a retailer has already gotten the colors of the uniforms that they're going to be doing for this NHL Hometown Remix next season, from what they're calling their City Edition uniforms next year, which will be kind of interesting from what I've been hearing.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, though, about trying to morph. But I also think, though, you morph these two together, though, Nick, on top of the fact the World Cup Finals in New Jersey, too, at MetLife Stadium. I'm not surprised either by that.
True. I mean, but I don't know. This is getting annoying because, like I said, Fanatics used to be a hat brand. Essentially, that's how it started. Then it became a jersey brand and an apparel brand, and now it's a betting app.
Oh, that is true. It is, yeah.
Fanatics bet now because everyone needs a gambling app. Everyone. What? And this whole ESPYs thing, because Fanatics is loosely based in New York, that's why they're moving the production stuff, because Fanatics has a home at the Javits Center in New York. So they just said, "Oh, let's move the production to New York, and we'll do it that way." So,
I mean, hell, and practically every major sports league has their main flagship store in New York City too. So that also doesn't surprise me either.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting tired of Michael Rubin and the amount of shit that I keep seeing from Fanatics. Like I on the email once because I went 2 years, the 2 years I was in New York, and now they spam you to death with Fanatics emails. Like, enough. I get it. Thank you.
They beat you over the head with a steel chair, don't they?
It's like the Buffalo Bills fans who go flying through the table. Like, enough.
Real.
Like, make it stop. But like, that's a financial move. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's all it is. Big deal. All right, Nick, in the NBA, one of the hottest teams right now is the LA Clippers, who are still, though, Nick, marred by the ongoing salary cap circumvention investigation. Now, while the Clippers are currently one of the hottest teams in the NBA, a dark cloud remains over Intuit Dome in Inglewood, California, as the league is still continuing their investigation of allegations of salary cap circumvention involving Kawhi Leonard and a fraudulent financial firm. But now, Nick, with the NBA All-Star Game heading to the arena in a few months, The NBA is now under pressure to reach a verdict on whether Steve Ballmer's group funneled under-the-table money to their star forward before the All-Star Game events do, in fact, begin in a few weeks. Nick, in honor of Brad Evans, if the NBA finds the Clippers guilty of cap circumvention while they are the number one seed, or not even number one seed, but at least getting back under the swing of things, though, does the league have the huevos to strip them of picks or disqualify them from the postseason, or probably, Nick, even kick Ballmer out of the league?
They're not going to kick Ballmer out of the league. This is not what Donald Sterling did, where he was abusing people and doing all this stuff, and the owners had to get all together and say, we're kicking you out. Because remember, the owners are a community, a private exclusive club, where all they get to do.
Continue. Sorry.
But you know what? It is ironic, though, that they're on a hot streak and this news is still going on. And Pablo Torre's still beating the drum, which, by the way, I think he's doing a really good job at it. By the way, like, he's finding out things that I've never even thought of before in this this situation. Like, it's almost like he's just saying, admit it, I got you beat.
Nick, it's weird, though, because I'm trying to get to a game at Intuit the week before the All-Star game comes to Inglewood when the Clippers play Philadelphia on a Monday night in February, I want to say, but that'll depend on time and place and if anyone wants to actually go with me. But here's the main thing, though, that's so interesting. We have long said this, though, too, about the gambling scandal that we talked about at length on Press Row when the news first broke of, like, the opening shot being fired regarding what we had known at the time about Billups, Jonte Porter, and other people. But, Nick, other than Pablo Torre still digging ditches with this story, Nick, fell off the face of the earth and off a cliff after it first broke. And now it's only coming back, though, because I believe, Nick, if memory serves me correct, though, we had heard Adam Silver said we will have our findings done by All-Star Weekend.
NBA team. Yeah.
Ironically enough, though, the All-Star game is at Intuit Dome in downtown Inglewood, California.
Wait.
What?
So that would be something, though, Nick, where, again, I think it's right, though, there is a cloud over that building right now, and it's not rain clouds coming through as it's supposed to start raining again here in a couple of days. But it's been this cloud, though, Nick, hanging over this team. As I even said, Nick, back on episode 2 of Small Market Edition. Yeah, the Clippers play in L.A., Nick, but they have been a small market team for such a long time, from Buffalo to my hometown, now to L.A., and they finally have their own arena, though. And then, Nick, it's weird, though, how that news came out, and the start for them was like, what, 6-21 at one point, or 6-15, or it was like very bad.
Oh, it was miserable. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they've clawed their way back to at least a play-in tournament spot right now, maybe even a potential 5 seed, 6 seed, again, with how jam-packed the West is right now. But though it is kind of, in a way, remarkable that nothing more has come out of his story since the Pablo Torre opening shot got fired off. And then the NBA basically said, yeah, we'll take care of it later, just hang tight. And we haven't heard anything about it since.
No, they're basically saying,
You need to shut the fuck up.
that's essentially what they're saying. Like, go away. When the season's over, we'll deal with it. Kind of like what's happening with the NFL players with, the Patriots wide receiver. Stephon Diggs, who has these allegations going on. Oh, well, they're still in the playoffs. Oh, we'll push it back until they're out of the playoffs.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
This whole thing is dumb. Like, I think the NBA, the reason they're delaying and they're doing all this is because they're trying to find a way behind the scenes to sweep it under the rug and make it go away.
And I also want to say too, Nick, and this might be stupid. I don't think that the NBA would want to further ruin their integrity of what's left of it by having the announcement come out of, hey, we're slapping the Clippers with all these penalties while they're hosting the All-Star game in their new arena.
What integrity?
Yeah, that's why I said with what integrity is left. Exactly.
To be honest, they should just slap the Clippers with the penalties and say, look, you're an idiot. We caught you. And take your penalty like a man and move on.
And for those who are curious, by the way, the Clippers are 19-24 now, and they're in the 10th spot. So they would make the postseason via the SoFi NBA play-in tournament.
Oh, is it actually SoFi?
Yes.
Oh, God, that's ironic.
Ironic because look at what's across the street from.
That's what I mean.
Home.
Yeah. I don't know. This whole thing it's going to be a cloud over the Clippers and the NBA until they come to a legalized consensus.
Clown show.
Yeah, well, that too. But until they come to a legalized consensus and say, look, you guys are assholes. You broke the rules. You circumvented the salary cap.
Yeah, like they're not gonna. Yeah, I mean, just to kind of put a bow on it here, they're not gonna kick Ballmer out of the league. Like, what he did is, in a way, this is what the Wolves went through in 2002 or 2004 with the whole Joe Smith contract.
And that was worse.
Yeah. So I mean, all they got was a fine, loss of draft picks. Virginia, the Clippers don't have a lot of draft picks anyway that are left at their disposal.
But they got fined a lot of money for the time. I think
they did at the time. Yes.
That could be a question we ask David too, because he's had some opinions about the whole circumvention of the salary cap.
And he'll be on in about 20 minutes for those who are wondering at 1:30 Pacific time, 4:30 Eastern to wrap up the show today.
I just want to look that up really quick.
You go ahead and do that. We'll move on, Nick, to this other story that involved Carson Beck over the weekend and leading up to Monday's game. Miami, Florida quarterback and former Georgia quarterback in other places not known, Carson Beck, went viral this week when asked about his class schedule, responding, "No class. I graduated 2 years ago." What? The clip has now reignited the debate over student athletes in the NIL era. Many are now questioning how a player can remain eligible for multiple seasons after earning a degree while doing zero academic work, while others argue it's the ultimate goal of the college system. And of course, Nick, he also went viral for not shaking the hand of Fernando Mendoza after the game was over on Monday. But Nick, in the NIL era, should the NCAA implement a post-grad academic requirement to maintain the student part of student athlete, or should we just admit that the elite college football is now essentially the NFL's minor league system and pipeline?
Well, you and I have been saying this forever, that it's really college football free agency, which eventually turns into NFL. Like, what's the point of having a draft anymore if you're just going to run NILs and all this money and these guys are just going to... Now, wouldn't you say that Carson Beck is pretty smart considering he graduated 2 years early? Or no?
I mean, he had already won a natty at Georgia, played there for a few years, went to Miami.
No, I get that, but I still don't understand how he was allowed to stay there for 2 years.
I mean, did he have like a medical red shirt? Did he have the COVID year? Did he have another loophole?
So I did look it up. COVID, he had a red shirt year for one.
Nothing new.
And then he got an extra eligible year due to COVID. So that's why he has 6 years. But go ask Trinidad Chambliss how he feels about this now.
He's suing right now to get one more year because he played at Ferris State of the Division III ranks and never played.
Right, but if I'm not mistaken, I think the judge threw it out though.
I believe that is correct. Yes.
I'm looking that up just to confirm, but what is it? You're suing for a 6 year of eligibility? Tell me how that makes any sense.
No, it doesn't. And again, I wouldn't really know the full scope because Mr. Mid-Major works in the West Coast Conference, and I just know from my perspective, again, this isn't a Miami Hurricane situation. This is a USD Torero perspective, in the WCC. It is tough to get into my university. Like, the acceptance rate is very, very slim. You got to be basically 4.0 all the way through, tuitions through the roof as well. And, the NIL collective here is not very big because of where trying to navigate this as a mid-major is very, very difficult.
You're not LSU. You're not Ohio.
Yeah, we're not. And again, I don't mean to, do this, but again, just bringing the perspective of someone who's worked in Division I athletics for 9 years, going on 10 next school year in 26-27, and adding another new sport to my repertoire next year with beach volleyball in the spring coming up next season is, Nick, this is getting more and more out of control and much tougher to police now. I mean, I forget who it was though, but I think my dad told me he was watching one of the bowl games. I don't remember if it was Texas, San Antonio, or whoever. Someone's quarterback, though, Nick, was an 8th-year senior.
Yeah, I did hear that. I'm looking that up because I don't remember.
I mean, I don't know like where else we could go though, Nick. And yeah, I mean, the clip though, Nick, will again has reignited the whole, wait a minute, are they athletes, students, or are they student athletes now in the NIL era? And again, though, I agree though, how can a player though who's already graduated, despite having eligibility left, not do one single shred of classwork or academic work in general, still be allowed to play the game at a high level in some capacity?
You shouldn't. And by the way, I found 2 names: Jared Folks and Cam McCormick. Those names ring a bell?
Not really, but go on.
They're calling them super seniors. That's what they're calling them. I didn't think super seniors meant 2 full rides.
What, they're 8th-year seniors, aren't they?
Yes. Jared Folks, ETSU. I don't know what school
Eastern
that is.
Tennessee State.
Considered the first or one of the first 8th-year seniors playing in the 2021 season after the COVID waiver. And Cam McCormick was Miami, a tight end whose career derailed by multiple injuries led him to an 8th year in 2023 and a successful petition for a 9th year in 2024.
9th year?
I kind of remember the Cam McCormick story, though, because he had really serious injuries. So he couldn't play. But
okay,
8th and 9 years, though? Can you imagine if that was NIL based?
Who, though, is not to say eventually we have one of those situations happen.
That's why Trinidad Chambliss is coming back. He wants to be paid.
Now look at Dylan Raiola, who went to Oregon from Nebraska.
Yeah, and now they have a situation because of Dante Moore,
who is staying put, as we said last week during the Bart Winkler interview, that he now announced he's going to stay at Oregon for 1 more year.
Yeah. First of all, I was talking to my trainer earlier today because we were having this discussion about NILs, and I kept saying to him, like, what happens if there was no NIL money and these guys had a fight to get into the NFL draft to be paid?
Correct.
Now, because I said, originally the NILs was keeping kids in school.
Right.
But it's keeping them in school for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I mean, they're wrong reasons, I agree, because, again, where's the homework? Where's the classwork? Where is there some kind of a... Yeah, I mean, but that's what I'm getting at here is, to the question that we had, or to the notes here, again, the clip of Beck saying no class, I graduated 2 years ago. The clip has again restarted or reignited the debate over student athletes in the NIL era, with many questioning how can a player be eligible still for multiple seasons after earning a degree while doing zero academic work.
Okay, so here's what I found out. Yes, name, image, and likeness opportunities for college athletes are directly tied to maintaining academic eligibility. Requiring athletes to meet NCAA standards for core courses and GPA, like 2.3 for Division I and 2.2 for Division II, and progress towards a degree, plus attend classes to stay eligible to play and benefit from NIL deals, with university policies also restricting NIL activities that conflict with academics.
So this is where I praise Deion Sanders. Do you remember, Nick, at the start of the season that clip went viral of Deion laying the law down with his kids in a lecture hall about, hey, here's the rules. You don't follow these, you're out of here.
Education. Yeah. Education and GPA. Yeah. That was a huge thing. And a lot of people give him crap, but I don't know if you saw the other viral clip. I think it was a couple of years ago, where a kid who had like 3 concussions or whatever, and he had to leave the team, and he decided to go off into dentistry, I think. And he honored the scholarship for him to go to school. So who's breaking the rules here? Because Carson Beck, if he graduated 2 years ago,
What's he doing to keep that academic status alive?
Is it like what was it, Jim Boeheim, who had those weird Harry Potter classes? Or
at Syracuse? Yeah, I think so. And some schools have Taylor Swift classes now at Stanford, for example.
what the fuck is that? Like, that's your way? Well, that was before NIL, but that was supposedly to make classes easier for athletes so they could pass.
Hell, I would have taken a Star Wars or a Marvel Cinematic Universe class if I had to, if I was at Creighton.
But it doesn't add up because this says it requires athletes to meet NCAA standards for core courses and the GPA.
So what? Before we move on, does that mean that Carson Beck's GPA from when he graduated carries over for 2 more years or whatever?
I don't know. And it says to stay. And it says you have to make progress towards a degree plus attend classes.
So does he like do that Simpsons meme of just walk into a class, walk in a circle, take his hat off, put it back on, then leave?
That's a great meme, by the way, every single time. But
all right, Nick, let's move on here as we kind of teased us though with Brad Evans earlier in the show, though. Poly Market is at war now with Nevada as Nevada's gaming regulator has filed its first ever lawsuit against Poly Market, one of the world's largest prediction markets. The regulator wants sports event contracts removed from the platform in all of Nevada, claiming that they constitute unlicensed gambling, which also follows a wave of lawsuits against both Kalshi and Robinhood. The Poly Market had remained largely untouched until now. Nick, as prediction markets like Kalshi, Robinhood, and Poly Market now begin to rival traditional sports books, is the unlicensed gambling argument a genuine concern for public safety, or just a way to protect established Vegas casinos and sports books, in your opinion?
First of all, I have to do this first, obviously, because again, we said it during the interview, but we did work with a sports prediction market, obviously in Novig, but this is out of control. The sports prediction market is out of control. The prediction markets are out of control. I don't know if you caught any of Lounge on Saturday, where I was with John and Callan and Zan, and I jokingly pulled up the Kalshi website with the pop culture bets. Not even sports bets. And like you're and like you could bet on relationships. You could bet on video games coming out. You could you know what? Let's do it now. I'm gonna pull it up.
Oh my God.
All right. So what will Logan Paul's Pikachu illustrator go for at auction? What? And they give you at least 12 million or at least 11 million. I don't know what this means. Will Timothy Chalamet claim he is Ease Day Kid? You even know what that is?
No idea. I know who Timothy Chalamet is, though, or Chalamet is.
Chalamet. Yeah.
Chalamet.
Or as Adam says, Timothy Chalamet. My favorite is, will Tim Chalamet and Kylie Jenner be engaged this year? That's a bet. When will Drake release Iceman episode 4? Who will go on Call Her Daddy podcast this year?
Oh, no.
When will Apple announce foldable iPhone? Who will be groomsmen for the wedding of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift?
Mahomes.
Well, no,
Jason
they
Kelce.
had two choices: Patrick Mahomes or Taylor Swift's brother, Austin Swift.
Mahomes.
Will Cardi B and Stefon Diggs be engaged this year?
Not if he's in legal trouble.
Will Katy Perry and Justin Trudeau be engaged this year?
What?
I think they're dating.
What? The former Prime Minister of Canada?
Yeah.
What?
I know. Let's see what else.
By the way, isn't Poly Market too where you can also bet on the weather?
Yes. How many tracks will Harry Styles' Kiss All the Time disco occasionally have? 13. Let's see what else we got. Okay. This is what I'm talking about, though. This is the problem with these platforms.
I mean,
And
Nick,
Brad
and
said it.
And Nick, by the way, how am I not surprised, though? Because you and I are both old enough to remember before modern times, the only places you could legally wager in this country was Las Vegas, Nevada, and Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Correct. That's right.
So why am I not surprised, though, that Nevada, who, again, Vegas, all the casinos, why, though, am I not surprised that they're trying to take legal action? Because in a way would hurt their business.
Or here's another good one. Will Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce be married before January 1st, 2027? I mean, the answer is yes, but who's counting? Let's see. Anything else here that stands out?
And also the fact it's the first ever state lawsuit about gaming and gambling is pretty much a surprise, too.
Right. Oh, Bad Bunny's halftime opener, and I can't pronounce either one of them.
If you want my honest opinion, they should probably put one down, put a play down. Well, Green Day, cuss out the Trump administration during the kickoff show.
I found the category: climate. So there's countdown clocks on this right now. Wait. So what's 7.5 hours from now? Is that midnight here on the East Coast?
Yeah, 9:00 Pacific time.
So highest temperature in Miami today, 71 or below, or 72 to 73.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
So you have until midnight to put something in. So you literally could be watching a thermometer on your phone.
Oh my God.
And they do it for all of them. Oh, snow in New York City this month. Above 15 inches, above 20 inches. I mean, you can't make this up. Like, let's try another one. Gas prices in the U.S. this month, above $2.85, above $2.90. What? Can you imagine?
You won't see that in California. Sorry.
Can you imagine saying, I bet my house on the gas prices for the U.S. this month? This is hilarious. Like, unbelievable. Let's see. Who will successfully take over Warner Brothers? Well, we already know the answer to that, but they had Netflix and Paramount. Let's see. Who will be the next CEO of Disney? Well, they kind of gave that one away.
Josh D'Armo.
See, here's the problem. If they put it out already, what stops me from going on here and doing it?
Make it make sense to me.
Let's see. Will Trump cut corporate taxes this year? Yes or no?
Oy vey.
Which bank will take crack in public before 2027?
Wait, what?
Have you ever heard of Kraken?
No.
It's a financial app or financial. What? Oh, when will Tim Cook leave Apple?
Never.
It says before 2027 or before July.
I don't know about that.
This is hilarious.
This is it's borderline awful too at the same time.
Who will acquire Pinterest this year? OpenAI or Meta?
What?
What happens if it doesn't happen? What?
You lose your money.
Oh, you'll get a kick out of this one. Hopefully, David will be joining us in a minute. DoorDash total orders in Q4. Oh, okay, I'll hold that one off. But joining us now, another great guest. We've had great guests for this entire show. Former Marlins GM and also host of Nothing Personal with David Samson. Should we let our guest in?
Yes, the one and only David Samson is going to join us, or is joining us here on Press Row. Mr. Samson, warm welcome to the program. Great to see you.
I misspoke. It's president, not GM. Sorry.
No, that's okay. For the deals that worked, you can call me GM. For the deals that didn't work, I'm a not meddling president.
I apologize.
Oh, man.
But thank you for joining us, David. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, man. We appreciate it a lot.
So let's get into it. Obviously, the Dodgers, the big story. People are mad. Some people are not mad. I've seen some of your opinions on it. What do you make of all the pop-up circumstance of the Kyle Tucker signing and the talk of a salary cap?
Well, those are two, to me, very different things. And I'll go back to the World Series this past October when everyone said it's the end of the world as we know it if the Dodgers win the World Series. And I never viewed it that way, and nor did the owners, nor did the commissioner. I don't believe that that was real. What is real is, and it gets disguised as we need a salary cap, or we need a salary floor, or we need better competitive balance, and more markets need hope before the season starts. That's all just words. What we're really talking about is the economics of the collective bargaining agreement and the change that has happened since the last collective bargaining agreement, which is based on what happened with local broadcast revenue. What the Dodgers have that other teams don't really has nothing to do with Kyle Tucker. It has to do with the fact that they have zero deduction in their expected local broadcast revenue. Their deal is exactly what they thought it would be. It's continued at that level. It's guaranteed by Comcast. There's no bankruptcies. There's no problems at all. And so for me, what has to be solved is that broadcast revenue issue. And that's going to be a huge part of the collective bargaining agreement because revenue sharing, that's in the CBA, the debt service rule, deferred comp, all of these things are in the CBA. And so that's going to be a really tough, long negotiation, way much more so than the salary cap or the salary floor. That's just good for talking on the radio.
David, I saw this firsthand in San Diego with the Padres losing what was then Bally Sports San Diego at the early part of 2023. I think the last game that they aired was the week of Memorial Day, ironically enough, in Miami against the Marlins. And then the games obviously moved to MLB.TV, Padres.TV, brought to you by UC San Diego Health. But now, of course, though, David, 9 other teams now have dropped FanDuel Sports with their TV provider. And you've long said, though, that maybe replacing an $80 million right fee with $4.5 million in streaming revenue is suicide. But if you were still perhaps running the Marlins today, how would you probably try to justify a payroll of $100+ million when your primary source of guaranteed income has now vanished away if you're one of these 9 teams who lost out with FanDuel Sports?
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, what bothers me the most is all the people who, there's this one thing on Twitter that I could spend 20 hours explaining to people how wrong this is. It's a chart of what they think the revenue is of each team, and then the payroll of a team, and what percentage of revenue is that team's payroll. The numbers are all wrong. The concept is all wrong. The reality is that when you have an expectation of revenue this year, next year, the year after that, you sign a 10-year deal for easy math for $1 billion, $100 million a year for 10 years. When that money becomes $15 million instead of 100, you can't replace that $85 million. There is no system, not through ticket sales, not through revenue sharing, not through a special commissioner's discretionary fund approved by the union, which gives teams an extra couple shekels. None of that replaces it. So you have to address the operation of your team. And the only way to do that is by lowering payroll. That's the reality of the situation that a lot of teams are in right now. And it's not going to change until the revenue situation with broadcasting gets solved. And right now it's not.
So the other thing that's frustrating, obviously being from New York and being a Yankee fan, but people are comparing this whole situation with the Dodgers to the Yankees being overspenders. I think these are two completely different situations. The deferment situation, which I'm curious your thoughts on. Does there need to be a rule on deferment? Should it be allowed? The Dodgers deferring over $1 billion. What is your thoughts on, I guess, the comparison of the big bad Yankees back in the day spending and also the deferment that the Dodgers are?
Well, let's talk about deferred comp first. There is a provision in the collective bargaining agreement. When you have deferred comp, you have to fund that deferred comp according to the rules of the CBA. But here's how teams get around that. Picture a balance sheet of a company. A balance sheet is literally a statement of your operation, like a snapshot at a particular moment. The day after a balance sheet is released, it's different. Literally, it changes every day. Deferred comp has to be set aside in a separate account. You have to show the union and you have to show the commissioner's office that you've got the money to pay all your deferred comp. But you only have to show it one day a year. So what owners do is they move money into an account, like they borrow money, put it into an account one day, take it right out of the account, and use the money for something else, either paying back debt or they use it for other things. So it's an interesting way where the Dodgers are not in violation of any rule at all. And in fact, they are, in theory, funding the deferred comp, wink, wink, by showing it in existence for a day a year. How do you change that? I personally don't like deferred comp because the players do. The reason the players do, it's a forced savings plan for players. What deferred comp means, think about it, is when you get paid to not work, that's the same thing as taking part of your current day paycheck and then putting it in your savings account and living off your savings when you're done working. That's what deferred comp is. So Shohei Ohtani will make $68 million a year for 10 years after he's done playing with the Dodgers. He won't be working for the Dodgers, but he'll have a salary of $68 million. That's the same as a forced savings plan. So I get why players are okay doing it, and I get why teams are okay doing it, because why worry about tomorrow when you can focus on today? But what the commissioner says, Bud Selig and then Rob Manfred, hey guys, tomorrow comes really fast. You can win the World Series and you're back to work the next day, tied for first and tied for last with a 0-0 record. When you defer comp, that's part of your payroll that particular year. So the Dodgers in 8 years will have a $68 million player who's on the injured list. He's out for the year. That's how you look at it. Ohtani will have 10 years where he will not play for the Dodgers, but be a $68 million cash item. No matter what team you are, that is a factor. And that's why most teams just won't do it.
David, your time, though, with the Marlins, people know you, too, from your time with Montreal as well and that franchise. And, we think about the 94 strike. We actually had an episode of one of our audio form podcasts talk about the 94 strike, how, again, Montreal was like, number one, probably going to maybe win the World Series that year. But maybe away, though, David, from Montreal, can you kind of talk about that 03 Marlins team? Obviously, people remember it, though, because, Steve Bartman ruined it for Chicago and this and that. But, that team, though, was so fun. I remember watching, obviously, as a fellow small market fan with the Padres and watching the Marlins in 03. Sorry, Nick, for what what the Marlins did to the Yanks. But, I mean, the Juan Pierres of the world, the Mike Lowells, Derek Lees, and the Pudge Rodriguez's. Can you maybe pull the curtain back, though, about how that team got assembled and went on that magical run, though, if you can?
Wow. I don't know if we have time, but let me go back to the most important thing that happened for that team was the ability to trade Preston Wilson and Charles Johnson to the Colorado Rockies. And Charles Johnson's agent was Scott Boras. Charles Johnson was a great catcher for the Marlins. Yes. He had a no trade clause and he wouldn't waive it. And Scott Boras charged us $1 million to waive the no trade clause. That's the only reason players want no trade clauses. It's such a joke when they say, oh, we like the school system or we want continuity of where our family is. I've spoken to players for 18 years. You're literally where you play for 81 games and for about 140 days, maybe So it's not really all that relevant, but you get the $1 million. Charles Johnson and Preston Wilson get traded, and we get a guy named Juan Pierre. And we wanted to put Juan Pierre at the top of the lineup with Luis Castillo because we thought that would be pitching, speed, and defense would enable us to win games. And the second thing that happened that was important is that no one would sign Pudge. He was a free agent. He had no offers, none at all. And he's from Miami. He lives in Miami. And we came in and said, hey, we'll give you $10 million 1 year. Just come play. And it brought our payroll from 30 to 40. So we basically had him as 25% of our payroll, which is the maximum you can ever pay one player and think that you can win. And you need some great, pitchers who outperform their contracts. But getting Pudge, because the entire market said no to a long-term deal. That's the only reason he signed with us. So that was big. And the third thing that happened is that we got a throw-in in a deal with the Cubs when we trade with the Chicago Cubs. I love when GMs take credit for getting players. Well, I'll tell you the truth. Dontrelle Willis was a throw-in. We didn't know Dontrelle Willis would be good. He was there because we wanted it to be a third body. Like we wanted an extra name. And they said, hey, we got a lefty. Always love a lefty because then you can say, oh, everyone's looking for lefty starters. This is a great get. We always say he's got high ceiling. He's got great pitchability, great stuff. We're all full of it. We just wanted to be able to say that we got 3 for 1 or 4 for 2. And so Dontrelle Willis was a throw-in, and he turned into Dontrelle Willis, who was a critical player for us that year. And it's not because we were good. It's because we were lucky. So wait, one more thing.
Okay.
Steve Bartman, give me a break. Alex Gonzalez, their Gold Glove shortstop, made a huge error on a tailor-made double play ball that would have been the end of it. It had nothing to do with Steve Bartman.
Yeah, thank you for exonerating him.
It's not even close. And in terms of the Yankees, I will tell you that, the big bad Yankees, the way that manifests itself is that George Steinbrenner, when we got to the Yankee Stadium for game 1 of the World Series, and it was we were taking BP. What George did is on the Jumbotron during our BP, they didn't play music. They were playing highlights of all the Yankee championships. They were doing nothing but trying to intimidate us. And we got to the clubhouse, and I will never forget this. Before game 1, we had Penny on the mound going against David Wells. I will never forget, we went into the clubhouse after, because when you're on the road, you have late BP, you go second, you then go into the clubhouse and you get a quick bite and you get ready to play. And we were like, can you believe what these guys are doing? They're so cocky. We're better than they are. And we were. It wasn't an upset in 03. After May 15th, we were the best team in baseball. And I know that they tried to intimidate us constantly. And under Jack McKeon's leadership, we just didn't allow it. And it got us a ring.
I have to thank Trader Jack for drafting Tony Gwynn, by the way, for the Padres in 82. And the parting shot, by the way, I think that 03 against San Francisco, I think, was Pudge saying, I've got the ball, when they threw out, I think, JT Snow to end the game and win the series. That's one of my favorite parting shots of that 03 season.
Well, just a quick story about that and little things that don't get a lot of attention. When you make up a playoff roster, you spend a lot of time. It doesn't just happen. You meet with the manager, you meet with your pitching coach, your hitting coach, GM, AGM, team president, owner, and you put together your playoff roster. And then you get given a copy of your opponent's playoff roster. When we got the San Francisco Giants playoff roster for the 03 division series, we noticed they were carrying too many pitchers. It's a 5-game series and they had an extra pitcher and we didn't understand why. Was Jason Schmidt hurt? Did they not pay attention? They didn't have a pinch runner for JT Snow. They didn't have anyone on the roster. And so JT Snow was on second base. He shouldn't have been running. You have to have someone with speed in that position. And that's how he got thrown out. But anyway, just a little thing that in baseball doesn't get talked about, but the makeup of playoff rosters, that's a real thing.
Interesting. I want to go back to the RSN slightly because this has been a big topic of discussion, whether it's the localization of Major League Baseball, which has been a problem, but now we see the NBA going more national with their schedule 7 days a week. The NFL already does it. The NHL is trying to do it. how do we fix the issue with the RSNs? Like, is it eventually just going to go away and it's all going to become a digital model? I'm not a fan of the Netflix thing on opening day. I think that's a little odd. I don't know if most fans are going to find Yankees Giants
ready
on opening day, but how do we figure this situation out with the RSNs?
One, you got to make the regular season shorter. You got to go to 154. And I think with expansion, you're going to see that. Two, you have to do something during the regular season the way the NBA has and the NHL has with the in-season tournament and the four, what did they call it? The four nations face-off. 4 nations in NHL, which was amazing. Because what we're doing now, and we were the team that started it, we went to Fort Bragg. And I don't remember what year it was, but it was the first time they did a themed game. And it was awesome. And that has morphed into the Field of Dreams game. They did a game at that at the place where they race cars around. Oh my God, I'm
Bristol
totally
Motor Speedway. They've gone to the Little
Bristol
League,
Speedway.
Yeah, the Little League Classic 2 in Williamsport.
What are you doing there? You're creating inventory. And that's what baseball needs to do. They're creating specialized regular season inventory the way the NFL created the 9:30 slot by going international. You're creating slots and inventory that is sellable because these Netflix and the like, they don't want game, 94 between the Yankees and the Red Sox. It's not that interesting. But game 94 played in Iowa, that's interesting. So you're going to see more of that, shorter regular season, and you will see that national shared broadcast revenue will become a far bigger part of the MLB puzzle than it was prior.
David Samson, longtime former baseball executive, now the host of the Nothing Personal podcast with Meadowlark Media, joins us on Press Row. David, obviously, I wanted one more baseball question for you real quick. Obviously, my Padres are stuck in perpetual suspension with the Seidler family trying to sell the franchise. We've heard names of Joe LaCobe, Steve Ballmer has been two of the biggest names kind of thrown around. Joe Tsai, who owns the Nets and the Liberty, is also kind of maybe in the running. He also owns a pro lacrosse team in San Diego. I like to get your perspective, though, if you have been a part of a franchise being sold, what that kind of looks like, though, for the average sports fan, because obviously, locally here, we've seen 3 teams leave: the Rockets, the Clippers, and of course the Chargers, and that made me stop watching the NFL. But from probably your experience, though, if you've been a part of a sale, what does that actually look like, though, from the inside to the outside perspective?
Yeah, so I was a part of buying and selling the Expos and then buying and selling the Marlins. So I've done it twice, and you'd be shocked at how little the players actually care and the GM cares. They just want a budget. Whatever the payroll budget is, just tell me what the budget is, and we'll build the team according to that number. And the issue of relocation is slightly different. That creates a level of anxiety for employees who have their home base where the team is. For players who don't, it's not as big a deal. But for players and for staff and for GMs, relocation becomes a thing. San Diego is an interesting story. I love San Diego. You may know from Nothing Personal that I have a big problem with AJ Preller because he's a liar and a cheat. But that doesn't change the way I felt about Peter, the way I felt about the organization, the city. I love it. The problem is, in baseball, you can't pretend to be something you're not.
True.
And what the Padres have done, and they have, listen, I love the ballpark. I love the area. They're not the Dodgers. It's not the same market. You cannot operate pretending that you are, because what you end up doing is what AJ's done. Build down. And I'm the pro. I did that all the time. It doesn't work. Steady. And the Padres have not been steady. And that they've been steady in attendance, but I'm talking about in terms of payroll.
Everything else, though, has been a roller coaster.
Else. And so what I think new ownership will require is a responsible level of steadiness, and will not have the syndrome that Peter had. And rest in peace. Peter had a syndrome. It was the I want to be LA syndrome. And that is, our owner had it. He wanted to be the Yankees. You can't be the Yankees. We were the Marlins. We were in Miami. It's a great city, but it's a small payroll, small revenue team. You can't You can have a no shaving. You can have a no beard policy. You know, you can trade with the Yankees all you want. It doesn't make you the Yankees. And so I think that is critical for the Padres.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit away from baseball. I want to talk about your comments on the WNBA because we talk about the W all the time on here. You talked about how the league could possibly fold, the players being too greedy. What is the answer for the WNBA and the WNBPA? Because we talk about it a ton. We've prepped to do lockout shows before, and then, of course, they go on these 30-day extensions, and it was going to get to a point where they just can't do 30-day extensions anymore.
It got there.
Right. So what is the answer? Is one side wrong? Are both sides wrong? Is there a consensus? What is the situation with the two of them?
A mistake that unions make very, very often is they try to do too much over the course of one negotiation. What you're supposed to do in collective bargaining is have an idea. You're supposed to literally have a 1, 5, 10, and 20-year horizon. And what you're negotiating, think about what the WNBA is trying to do, the Players Association. They're trying to become the NBA in terms of getting a percentage of revenue, and they're trying to get it all now. It's just not going to happen. The NBA has far too many losses with the WNBA to give back any profits that it may be making now. They're using those profits to try to make the financials look better, to give them more access to capital, to try to pay off some of the debt that they have accrued over the years. And they're not going to give it all back to the players right now. It could happen over time. And what the WNBA Players Association did, in my opinion, is they went for too much too soon because they got seduced by the Caitlin Clark effect. And that's a really good PR effect, what happened with Caitlin Clark. All the numbers of people watching and the new TV deal that's a pegged number by Adam Silver as part of the bigger NBA deal. But the truth of the matter is that is a deal that won't get done until the Players Association comes to grips with the reality that they're not going to get what they want. Hard stop, not today. And and so your second question is, would it fold? There's a lot of businesses out there that have folded divisions than we even think about.
True.
And I'm sorry to tell you, the WNBA is simply a division of the NBA. That's all it is. And that's not to say it's not important. It's not to say it's not fun or exciting. It's just a division. And divisions close every day. So would the NBA close that division? Man, I would say no, but it's certainly not out of the question.
I just want to follow up. So like Unrivaled and Project B, like Kathy called them non-competitors originally. I remember on WNBA draft night, and Callan and I think that's preposterous, like in every way, shape, or form. Is that her just like covering up, knowing that they're a huge competition?
It's what we all do. When I was a team president, we lie to the media, we lie to our fans because we just we always assume they're stupid. It's why nothing personal is successful, frankly, because now I just tell the truth about everything and sort of let people see, you know, under the kimono. But Unrivaled is an interesting thing that's happening. You've read that they had a huge first year. And full disclosure, I work with John Skipper, who's a part of Unrivaled. But second year, it hasn't been as good. And that's also normal. The excitement of year one, the newness of it. The question is, where will Unrivaled level off? And what will be the exit strategy for the Unrivaled investors? Will it be bought by Project B? Will it be bought by the WNBA or the NBA? Will it fold? Will it expand? Will it turn into 5-on-5 and become a regular women's professional league? That's what they're facing right now, is thinking about those things, because the excitement of year one is done. But make no mistake, it's a competitor of the WNBA for sure.
Just Kathy being in denial, as we've long said, Nick. Simple as that.
It's and I can't believe that she actually thinks that. Saying it is one thing publicly. When she closes her eyes and puts her head on the pillow, there's no way that she said herself, "Oh, these guys aren't even competitors," because that would just be that's stupidity. And she's a lot of things, but I don't know that I would use stupid as an adjective.
Yeah. David, you had mentioned a little bit, though, about maybe baseball goes to back to 154. They look at maybe the Commissioner's Cup for an in-season tournament, for example, like the WNBA and the NBA already have with the, NBA Cup and this and that. But also, you mentioned that word expansion, because we've long been, led down this road about, Montreal maybe gets a team again. We've heard about Portland, Oregon. We've heard about Nashville, Tennessee. We've heard Charlotte. David, if you had to maybe forecast maybe 5-10 years down the road, and let's say that baseball does expand, what two markets would David Samson award a Major League Baseball expansion team to, and who will those be and why?
Do I need the vote? I need 23 votes to do it. Keep that in mind. But if I had a unilateral ability to do something, I'd put a third team in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut corridor.
Oh, okay. That's a wild card.
With Yankees, Mets, and Red Sox. And I would put a team out west to have another team in that time zone. I would try to see if Vancouver was possible. I don't like the idea of Toronto having all of Canada, so I'd like to get another team back in Canada if possible. But otherwise, one in the West and one in the East. And in the East, that's where I'd go. But that's not what's going to happen, but that's what I would like to happen. What I think will happen is that they'll go to 32 teams. It will be a team in the East, a team in the West. It won't be Montreal. They just don't have the money or an ownership group at all who is willing to step up and do what needs to be done. But expansion is going to happen because it is the math works for the current 30 owners. And that's why I think it'll happen.
So you mentioned Skipper. I listen to Sporting Class. I'm a daily or a weekly. I listen every week. Can you talk about that show? Because I love that show. I love the business aspect of the show.
Thank you.
Kind of talk about the camaraderie of you three, because I think it's a great show.
Yeah, it started off when John and I were just having business discussions when I was considering joining Meadowlark. When I was at CBS with Nothing Personal, and I took Nothing Personal to market, and Meadowlark was a bidder. And John and I would just he was the CEO of Meadowlark at that time. And I had known John forever. I was a team president and he was the president of ESPN. And he was this very intimidating guy who I knew did not like baseball. He didn't like the Marlins. He only cared about the Yankees and Red Sox.
Oh my goodness.
And, he was high maintenance whenever he came to a ballpark. It was a nightmare. And so he and I would have these conversations. And one day, Dan Lebitard said, "Why aren't we taping these?" That's how Sporting Class started. It started with just me and Skipper. It was just the two of us having a conversation. And then Dan said, "Well, let's try to get Pablo, see if he likes doing this." Pablo did a test Sporting Class and said, "Man, I listened to this show. So instead of taking the hour I take a week to listen, I'll just take the hour to host it." And that's how it got put together. And it's something that has a market. It's something that is wanted by, The Athletic loves it, and it's part of PTFO, but it also has its own market. And John and I love doing it. People love sort of seeing it's all real. So the best part about Sporting Class is that it's really as though there's somebody recording a conversation that John and I are having when the cameras aren't rolling. Because these are the things we talk about.
I just want to follow up one more because you brought up Lebitard. I'm also a fan from that over the years. How did you were you friends with Dan? Is that how you became part of that universe, or?
No, I met him in the clubhouse 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And he just said he knew that I liked movies. He had heard that and said, "Would you ever be a guest?" He was on a terrestrial radio show. And I said, "Yeah, I'll come do a segment. I'll review a movie." And I became the only active team president to have a weekly radio show where I did nothing but review a movie, never talked baseball. And then I eventually started talking baseball and business. And I was just telling someone recently that one of the great pleasures of my life is the turnaround that I've had within the universe of Dan's show, where the people both on the air and off the air as part of his universe just didn't like me, but they didn't even know me. And I just got off the phone today. I was on the phone 40 minutes with Mike Ryan, who's a friend, a good friend, and Chris Cody and all of them. And I love that part of what I do because Nothing Personal is very lonely. I'm doing it alone. But every week I get to do a show with either Skipper or a show with Dan and the gang. And I just love that opportunity. It's fun.
Now, what about the character? Because I hear that's the big thing in that universe. I've heard you say it before, like you get mischaracterized as the character because people think you're the, like, I don't know how to say it, like the evil GM
The
or
face
president.
of corporate greed.
Yes.
Is what they like to do. When my daughter got sick, they stopped having me as that character. That's for sure. But I understand why it started as that character because Dan was trying to fit me into the universe. He was trying to make it so people would understand what I was doing. But now that we've been doing it for all these years, my character is just me. And for better or for worse, the vulnerabilities, the idiosyncrasies that I have, and it's just me. And I'm comfortable in that universe. I've always been comfortable being made fun of for who I am, for my size, for whatever it is. It's never bothered me at all. It made running a baseball team much easier that I didn't go crazy with what was said about me publicly, either good or bad. It really never impacted me. So, I started off as a character in the universe, and now it's just David Samson.
That's awesome. David, before we let you go, man, we'll let where can our viewers find the show? And more importantly, where can they find you on the web as well?
Thank you. DavidSamsonPodcast.com is my show website, and you can get all the shows there. We're on Nothing Personal with David Samson is a YouTube channel. Please subscribe. We're used to be every day, 7 to 9 a.m. Now I've been doing it Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays since my daughter got sick. And I appreciate the audience so much. And we're on DraftKings Network. We're really everywhere. And we're on TikTok, whatever. We're everywhere. If you just Google Nothing Personal, you're going to find a way that you can enjoy engaging with it. And I love the audience. I respect their time. I'm thankful for their time. And that's what I do. And I love doing it.
Well, David, I'm a fan. I've watched both the shows, and I was
Thank you.
ecstatic when you answered the message to come on because this is great. Just from a standpoint, I was always a Levitard fan. I was always a U fan when you'd be on the show. So
Thank you.
This was great.
Hey, this is great. I'm thankful for the opportunity. I have not done a lot of guest appearances since September, and so this one just hit me right. You caught me at the exact right moment where I wanted the distraction for a half hour, and now I got to get back to it with her. But listen, thank you so much, and continued good luck.
All right, thanks,
Thank
David.
you,
We
appreciate you, man.
Take
Thank
care.
All right, fans. David Samson bringing the heat as well here. Very insightful, though, Nick, to really, that's why I asked a question about, the Padres being for sale, the 03 team with the Marlins.
Great.
Again, this guy was, but again, he was like on the front lines, though, with that Marlins team for so long. Obviously brought the Expos for a little bit, though, but not about obviously what had happened in 94 and the team being sold. But though it was a good time, though, about him being a part of, buying and selling two different franchises and what actually goes into that entire ordeal.
I mean, his answers about the W were amazing.
Number one. Perfect. Yeah.
The insight that we learned about some baseball. We're going to have to go back and look through that one because he gave us information on baseball that I don't think you and I have ever heard. Right? Like,
no, I knew about the 03 team with the Marlins, but I didn't realize that they traded away Preston Wilson and Charles Johnson. And then the throw in with the Cubs trade was Dontrelle Willis.
And also
Never knew that
in the trade.
Yeah.
Mr. Stolen Base too.
Yes.
I'm trying to think at the time what else really stood out there. Everything on baseball, his RSN thing was spot on the money too. He's a perfect guest for this show.
Oh, yeah. He fits the mold like a glove.
So what an amazing show. Let's do press clippings because we always promise that to the.
Yeah, we'll at least get through that here today. Nick, we'll start off, though, in the NFL. NBC is now facing some heavy social media scrutiny for cutting away from the post-game handshake between Bears head coach Ben Johnson, ya boy, and LA Rams head coach Sean McVay, robbing fans of the mic'd-up tension they probably expected in wake of the very much piss-poor handshake that Johnson and Matt LaFleur had last week.
What is up with these handshake issues after a game? Like, I understand, remember they taught us as a kid, remember, sportsmanship is important. Make sure you shake the other coach's hand when you win or you lose. Is that not a thing anymore?
Obviously not if they're still talking about it.
And by the way, and you heard me say this on Forecast, and I'll say it quickly here. I still think Ben Johnson was wrong for kind of going to shake his hand and running. But you know what? it's unfortunately people are not always respectful after a win. What do they call that? Sore loser, sore winner. They call that all the time. So, am I surprised by it? No.
Nah, I'm not surprised by it, sadly, either. Nick, getting to the next one, though. Minute Media has officially launched SITV, a brand new free ad-supported streaming television channel or a fast channel, marking a major video expansion for the 70-year-old Sports Illustrated brand, available on platforms like Amazon Fire TV, DirecTV, and Sling. The channel will run 24/7 and feature a mix of original studio programming, archived vault content from 7 decades of reporting, and behind-the-scenes footage of the iconic Sports Illustrated cover shoots as well.
This is fascinating because if you remember, what was it when Yahoo Sports TV launched or whatever? Do you remember what they called it? Because I don't remember.
Oh goodness, I forget what it's called.
I'm looking it up very fast, but that was a huge thing. It was called Yahoo Sports Network, I think is what it was called. Yep.
Yes, that's correct.
So that was a huge thing. Like they took a lot of content, big names, and put it on. And what did they have? They had Caroline Fenton and Jason Fitz doing a morning show.
Yes.
Which is actually good. I've listened. And they have Ariel Hawani's podcast as part of it. They have a bunch of they have some NBA shows. Like it's almost like a TV channel, almost, in a sense. By the way, I did look into it. It's too expensive right now, currently. It's like $250 a month, which in the scheme of things, if this was all monetized and we had a steady income, that might not be so expensive. But you know what? They're taking a bunch of their podcasts and they're going to I read they're going to do some live sports content. They're going to do some behind the scenes of like the illustrated shoots, they said. Jimmy Traina's sports media podcast is going to be on there. Here's some of them. The Breer Report. I think that's Albert Breer. The Baseball Insiders, obviously. Pat 40 with 40-yard dash. Monday Morning Quarterback. And then apparently they're going to be doing programming from the Mountain West Conference Network. Whatever that
is not even going to be left because half the members are going to the new Pac-12.
Because it says it's featuring men's and women's basketball, gymnastics, baseball, softball games from the conference. Original content will include Sports Illustrated Vault, which will lean on the brand's archival library to revisit some of the best moments in sports, and other features like a recent story about how Oklahoma City built its canoe slalom course for the Olympic Games. So it sounds like a really fast put together TV channel, in a sense. Which, did you notice fast channels are becoming really popular? By the way,
Victory Plus, $100.
So the fast consumption. Hey, if we get money, hopefully in the future, I would look at a fast channel because you can constantly put in programming and it'll run on a daily basis, and you can do re-airs, which is the thing I asked Playback about, and they kept declining me on that. But it's a good idea. Will it last? Because we've seen channels like this before. They have to make money. That's the biggest hurdle they got to climb.
All right, Nick, last press clipping for the day. Further reports have confirmed that Indiana fans are calling the pregame end zone blessing with holy water the 13th man of their title run. Of course, Nick, we saw this 2 weeks in a row, though, with the Steelers beating the Ravens, and now here with the Hoosiers winning their first ever natty in college football on Monday night.
This is fascinating. The holy water situation. We saw it with the Steelers and the Ravens. They poured it over the end zone where the missed field goal was missed, and that's how the Steelers avoided losing the wild card round. But I guess this is going to become a thing now where you're just going to have priests dumping holy water on end zones or on courts or on baseball fields, maybe.
It's like Kyrie burning the sage in Boston in his first time back.
Oof. Well, I think that was a him thing mostly, but can you imagine if the holy water ritual becomes a thing now before games?
I mean, where are the Padres at with this damn thing? They're only named after the church priest, for God's sakes. Where's the holy water at Petco? Damn it!
I have no idea. I don't know how to
oh man
say this, but it's a fascinating story to say the least. That I love how all the news stations ran with the fact, oh, he missed it because of the priest pouring holy water all over that end zone. Yeah, okay. If you want to believe that, I guess. I mean, I don't want to offend people, but like, I guess people believe in prayer and like things happen for a reason, right? Like,
Correct.
But I think that was a little too coincidental, to be honest. Like, I think he just missed the kick.
That's all it was. He just missed the kick. I agree.
But yeah, that'll do it for this week's episode. Amazing episode of Press Row this week. Thank you to Brad Evans, BetMGM, Westwood One Sports. Thank you to David Samson, former president of the Marlins.
And the Expos.
And the Expos, and also the host of Nothing Personal with David Samson on Meadowlark Media and the DraftKings Network. Man, we've been putting it on to start this year.
And who knows, there may be another guest next week for all that we know at this rate.
I'm already working on it. But incredible show. Both interviews will be up in its entirety at some point in the next day or two. I recommend you go back and watch the David Samson interview. Don't get me wrong. Brad was incredible. Like, we learned more about the gambling industry than you and I combined have talked about. And I will say, I'm now willing to give more chance, at least to his show, to sit and listen and consume. I also like the loud personality. Also,
yes.
Noisy Huevos. I mean, the explanation was just hilarious on the nickname.
It is great.
Which you said it that exact way, I think, didn't you, when we were trying to figure it out?
Yes.
But incredible show, like always. Another 3 hours or 3+ hours in the books for Press Row. Follow us on social media at Press Row ETB, where you'll find all these clips and all these different things we've discussed. Follow the Empty the Bench Network at ETB Network across all our platforms. Help us grow there. And youtube.com/ETB Network, where this show has been airing. 112 people watching currently as we are.
Yeah, let's go, baby.
So our numbers have grown since we've left the playback platform. Sorry, it's just the facts. I'm not trying to be mean. We might be having someone on from playback very in the near future to kind of talk about what happened with that demise, unfortunately. But it's time to close the doors. The locker rooms are closed. The media mics are off. And I think it's time to say goodbye, isn't it?
Yes, because I am on my way to work here very soon.
Yeah, at least we're not up against the clock like we were last episode.
Yeah, no, I got a bit more leeway today as opposed to next week.
But, why? Are you right up against it next episode?
Yeah.
Like, how up against it?
Like about an hour against it, up against it next week. We'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll be fine. Like I said, fun show. And unless you have anything else left to say, I think it's time to go.
Yeah, it's time to go. We'll see you again, folks, next Wednesday morning. Once again, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, back here on ETB. For Nick Morgasen and for our guests, Brad Evans and David Samson, Callan McClurg saying good day / good night from Southern California. We'll see you next week. Till then, have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.